welcome to a spooky session of Fumbles and Fame. Who are Fumbles and Fame? If you don't know now, well, that's okay, because I'm about to tell you. We are a tabletop Discord community. We love everything to do with tabletop games, mostly D&D, but there are other stuff going around. We have slots open for all sorts of games. 40k, D&D, I think there's like a homebrew slot floating about. So if you want to get in on this crazy, it doesn't work and we're 10 minutes late for a stream type of action, then you just join the Discord link below, or maybe something will pop up in chat.
That is too real, Leonie. That's too real.
Too real. Wind it back, yeah? Wind it back. So, I was about to introduce our lovely players before we had all the sound problems. So, to my right, I have the lovely Anne from Russia. Wave, lovely Anne from Russia.
I don't know why, but you cut out exactly the moment you're trying to pronounce the name. So...
I believe it's you, sweetheart.
Anne from Russia!
Hi. just yell Russia and I'll get it.
The Russian.
This is the Russian.
And then right next to Anne is the lovely Tahina from Germany. Below Tahina is Nate from the US. And then below Anne the Russian is Jason from the UK. And then our very shy marching dinosaur is Sam from the UK, and the dinosaur will do a little happy dance, and that's how you know it's Sam.
Hey!
Oh.
Shout out to the audience for the tech support. You guys are awesome.
Yes, definitely. We managed to get there in the end, although we don't really know what really went wrong. We just turned everything fancy off and just thought we'll go back to basics. So as you can see, if you've watched our previous streams, this is a whole new kind of layout. Welcome to the first edition of Fumbles and Fame Overlay 2.0. So those of you in the Fumbles and Fame community, including my fellow admins, this is 2.0. What do you think? Do you like it? I hope you like it. And we've got like smoke and
it's amazing.
Yeah, right. So we are playing Curse of Strahd today, and we are going full RP mode. So there I have been briefing my characters and prepping them and briefing them some more and then prepping them some more, and hopefully we're going to take you through a very theatrical rendition of Curse of Strahd. Oh yes, it was very important of me to say, and I did say it earlier but you couldn't hear me, is that while we love everything D&D, it is important to note we are not affiliated with, endorsed, sponsored by, or specifically approved by the Wizards of the Coast LLC. Okay, so that's all over. We are ready to delve and adventure into the lost lands of Barovia. Did I do my weird pronunciation thing, Jason, or did I do it right?
I think that was actually accurate.
Yeah? Excellent. I've been calling it Barovia and all sorts for like...
Bravovia.
Yeah, I've been putting all extra R's in there and all sorts.
It's the cheerful version.
The Twitch chat asks if you can put up the volume of your own mic a little bit, Leonie. Can you?
Maybe? I don't know.
You're gonna have to shout.
I know.
Don't do anything technical. That's it. You're gonna have to. It's all gonna have to be organic now.
Yeah,
shout.
It's all gonna have to be organic now. We've had enough. I've been thrown by the tech things.
You're cutting out again. Your hair's getting in the way of the microphone, obviously.
No, it's not actually. You know why it is?
Her hair is too big and too full of secrets.
It's because I have.
Again, we're just not hearing you.
Yeah, right now I can't hear you at all.
I am so sick of this shit.
Shouldn't have said anything. It was working, damn it.
How is it now?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
good.
fine.
I am now talking and I'm going to say a very long sentence. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q,
Should have just done
S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Did you hear all that bloody alphabet?
Yes, you can
Okay.
hear me fine.
I think you should have just. I think you should just done the disclaimer right there and then while it was working. Now we're gonna.
I'm low-key worried that you may have skipped over a few letters, so I'm just like sitting here trying to.
For God's sake.
She remembered Elemento, which is the most important now for that.
But they can hear you now, so that...
Oh my god, I'm so sick of this shit. I just want to like flip a dice and be like, we'll be back next week. See you later. Right,
Session
whatever.
1.
Session
Minute
1 is
30.
cancelled. But no,
And
I've
is
been waiting for
already
this
sick of
session since November. We've been planning this since November, but obviously with the holidays and everything, it's taken a really long time. So we're going to take
Way to put the pressure on before we get going.
yeah,
Let's go.
we're gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna light myself a cigarette because I need some nicotine, and we are going to leave this world behind, and we're gonna go to a caravan. This caravan is quite cozy. It's cluttered, filled with possessions of a very long and joyous life. A single cloaked figure sits at a round table, decorated and tattered with a tattered filigree cloth. My time is not long, she says, as she begins to shuffle aged cards in her hand. Laying them before her systematically on the cloth with equally aged hands. The time has come, the mists of fate begin to weave. The dark masters must be satisfied. Heed this old woman's call, bring forth those who will finally free this land, and the trapped souls that are here, bring redemption to my people. Turning over the first card. I see in the cards a guild member from a land beyond the veil, an innocent and free spirit. I see in this soul a simple creature with simple desires. He'll be perfect. Along with this soul, I see a rogue, and yet holy divination calls them a priest. I see a soul with lofty desires of the divine. High are their ambitions, but divine their ambitions are. They should be safe. And yet, along their path, they should encounter a wizard, a guide, a man that knows all, but he does not know all of this land. He will do. She shuffles the cards again, looking through the deck, flipping them over one by one. The first card she touches, she says, "This card tells of a history. Knowledge of the ancient will help you better understand the enemy." As she turns the card, this is the 8 of Stars, the Necromancer. A woman hangs over a roaring fire. Find her and you will find the treasure. She turns over the second card. This card tells of a powerful force of good and protection, a holy symbol of great hope, and it is hope that we so desperately need. As she turns over the cards, you can see it's the 4 of Stars, the Abjurah. I see a fallen house guarded by a great stone dragon. Look to its highest peak. She turns over the third card. It is the 2 of Coins, the Philanthropist. This card of power and strength tells of a weapon of vengeance, a sword of sunlight. Look to a place where sickness and madness are won and bred. The treasure lies still. She turns over the 4th card now. This card sheds light on one that will help you greatly in the battle yet to come. Against darkness, you will succeed. A ghost, a fallen paladin of a fallen order. He lingers like a ghost in the dead dragon's lair. And as she turns over the final card, she rests her hand against it. Your enemy is a creature of darkness, whose powers are beyond mortality. This card will take you to him. The beast haunts the tomb of the man he envies above all. As she finishes her reading, she lets out a tired sigh. A shadow overcomes her. And she turns to the shadow and a smile breaks her face, creaking over every wrinkle. It is done. Yet,
Goosebumps.
moving on to another place, into the Sword Coast, the Sea of Swords, two halflings are travelling through a forest. Cue halflings. Cue halflings, what you doing? What you doing? Go on, don't be shy.
I'm walking down the street with a spring to my step and a devil-may-care grin, looking around, happy to be outside, hearing the siren song of the road calling me always on and on.
And at her side, an outlandishly dressed halfling will be ambling along with his thumbs in his pockets of his waistcoat, whistling a happy tune to himself and quietly remarking, "You know, it's been a long time since I got out of the city. It's nice to be out in the open air for once."
Oh, absolutely. The halfling woman beside him is very small, even for a halfling, and she's decked out all in black leathers, has lots and lots of weapons with her, and her hair is a fiery red, braided in little small braids with metal and wooden beads in it, and she has a dusting of freckles on her nose and a slightly sunburned tip because she's very pale. Obviously not going to tan.
Excellent. And where is it that you are going on your merry way together? Halflings with doing a half step.
Yes. I am on my way to recover a lost artifact. I heard rumors that Cornucopia of the Needful, which is an artifact of Yondalla, the halfling goddess, the creator mother, basically, of the halfling race. And I'm going to investigate it in the name of my church, because I'm a knight errant, or cleric errant in this case, that's been sent out to either help halflings or recover things. I'm good at getting my hands on stuff and bringing it home to the temple.
Okay, so the forest that you are travelling through is full of life. You can hear the breeze through the leaves, the birds tweeting, the sky is blue, there's clouds in the sky, but it's not going to rain today. It is a beautiful day as you travel together on your journeys. Along the road, you spot a figure, a robed figure, an elderly gentleman who it just seems almost to be waiting for you. Cue wizard.
As I draw closer, Finney's doffs his hat to the chap and remarks, "Top of the morning to you, sir. It'll be a fine, beautiful day to be out and about, is it not?"
Oh,
Good morning, grandfather.
You little folk. Can't see you well without my spectacles.
Then don't make a spectacle of yourself and put them on.
Oh, fair point. And he laughs, and you can just tell there's like deep crow's feet, smile lines in his eyes. He's not one who holds the smiles in. He has a long flowing beard, just a really cliche-ly wizard beard, and it's a bright red nose, red cheeks. But you can see rims, like rim marks on his cheeks, but no spectacles. And he seems to be looking around the area. by the grass on the side of the road.
I'm looking around to see if I can find anything to help him because he's obviously lost them. Maybe they are hidden in his beard. I'm taking a close look, and I rolled a natural one.
So as
That's a
you
great start.
excellent.
I imagine I'll roll at disadvantage.
Finny, I would like to use the help action
Yeah.
to assist the wizard in looking for spectacles.
Oh, that's good.
I got a 13 when I was investigating.
Twice. Did you roll twice?
Well, I canceled out my disadvantage that I imagine
cool.
I have.
All right,
so-
excellent. Okay, a 13 is good enough. So the sun is shining through the leaves, and you just catch, just by some rocks, a glimmer in the grass, quite bright.
No, I've spotted them. And he pummels over, and he's crouching. He's bent even for a man his age. He's bent like that. Just he's just like this. And he bends a little lower, and he picks them up, and he wipes them on his robes. His robes, by the way, are again the most cliche wizard robes you've ever seen. Just a midnight blue, speckles and glitter and little stars and moons. Same with his hat. It's just a straight, almost like a dunce cap, if you want to picture that. But again, midnight blue and little speckles and stars. And he's adjusting it every couple of minutes. You notice like a little nervous tick, perhaps. Whoa! Thank you so much for helping me.
Oh, no problem at all. But how did they end up all the way down there when your nose would be, all the way up there?
Well, I was walking and reading, and I must have stumbled on a rock, and you know how things go.
Oh, that's dangerous, walking and reading at the same time.
And tripping
Look
over
where
rocks
you
when you're
go.
a creature of your size.
I only have so much time. So, if I want to read all that I wish to learn, I must do so even when walking.
I see.
Where is it you'll be walking to, sir?
Oh, I'm just out and about.
So no specific destination?
No.
Well, are you headed in the same direction as yourselves? Or
Yeah,
to the
you can
east?
come with us. If you want, you can put me on your shoulder and I will read to you so you can watch the street.
I appreciate it, but I don't know if I could carry you. You are small, but
That's too
I'm
bad.
not very strong.
I'm quite happy to lead the way if that's of much use to you.
He seems a little confused, maybe a little lost. Like maybe he wandered out of the old folks' home and nobody noticed.
That was what I was thinking.
Just going to interrupt you there. We have a cheers from Rene Zilliam. He says we're doing great.
Scarlet.
Cheers.
Despite all our fumbles.
На здоровье.
We are good at those. True to our name.
But if you're travelling east against the sun, I mean, I'd be quite happy to help you lead the way as far as whenever you decide you want to go back, I suppose.
We can take you with us. And I grab you by the hand and pull you after me. Come, let's go. Road is calling. Daylight's wasting.
And there's only so much to read. And he puts his nose in his book, and he I think he's decided he'll walk with you a little way and just see kind of what you're up to. It's been a while since he's talked to anybody, it seems like.
What be your name, sir, if you don't mind me
Yes,
asking?
tell us your name.
Oh, of course. Please forgive me. My name is Gideon, the guide. Perhaps you've heard of me.
Gideon the
I would
guy.
like to make a check to see if I have.
I'm rolling history. Oh, we are not supposed to say that.
Where's my history?
That's a 13.
I got a 15.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Finny, you have heard of Gideon the Guide throughout your travels as a guildmaster trapper. There we go. Spit out my words. As you're doing this, obviously, as you've been doing your work, you've heard of him. He was once a great divination wizard. However, he's been getting on in years, and no one has heard of him for quite a while. No one knows what happened to him or what he's been up to. But he just finished. But it's been a long time, and like wow, you know.
Okay. You know, I think I've heard my old ma use that name once before in the old stories. It's just some sort of seer or some sort. Is that right?
And a guide, of course.
About that, of course. Yes, begging your pardons, to be sure.
No offense taken. I, from time to time, have been known to lead adventures. Perhaps your father partook in one of my many escapades.
Oh, I doubt it very much. There's not many escapades a cobbler gets up to, you know.
Indeed. Other than cobbling, of course.
I suppose, but I don't think he'd ever call it an adventure. In fact, if I ever broached the subject as an adventure, I'd probably get a swift clip around the ear.
Sorry?
I mime a clip round the back of the head.
Oh.
My father didn't have much time for nonsense talk like adventuring and the like, you know. He was quite a settled man, he was.
Adventuring is not nonsense. Much can be gained from it, of course.
I agree.
Well, I suppose that depends on where you'd be looking.
As you guys are talking, you notice that the forest has gone quiet. The birds are no longer tweeting, and the leaves are suddenly very, very still.
Gideon straightens up a little bit, and he's going to look around. I got a 15 on my perception plus 2.
Yeah, I'm also taking a look around to see if something's creeping up on us because it's suddenly so silent.
Finny, meanwhile, pulls his waistcoat a little bit tighter. Is it me, or did it get a wee bit colder around here?
Yeah, 16.
Okay, those of you that rolled above 15. Now, while it is a beautiful day, it's suddenly gone very grey. The blue skies and the sunshine and the fluffy clouds have dimmed, and it's quite overcast. And just around the edges of the forest, a mist has gathered, and it seems to be creeping closer.
Gideon leans down and rubs his knees.
Feels like rain.
Yeah, I agree. There's mist coming up. Is there anything in the mist? Or is it just mist?
It's just mist, but you're starting to lose vision of the forest beyond the immediate trees that are nearest to you, to the path that you're walking along. And every second...
Perhaps you'd best be taking my hand, Master Guide. I don't want you tripping over and using your spectacles here. There's not much chance we might be able to find them again, you know.
So you're having a halfling on one side and one on the other holding your hand.
and the mist comes closer.
I mean, the good thing is that I'm no longer being in danger of being sunburned as I rub my nose and then shake myself. Let's keep on moving.
As you move and you carry on travelling along the path, you lose sight of the trees completely. It is all grey around you. You cannot see the sky, you cannot see the trees, you cannot hear anything or see anything. And with that, we are going to pause here.
Okay.
And we are going to go to a place that is grim and dark and wet. We go to an old shack bursting with life. A wife turns to her husband and she makes the inquiry of their long lost daughter, Tanya. Bear with me, I'm just gearing myself up for my Eastern European accent. Let's see how I do.
I'm listening 5 times more attentively now.
I think we all are.
And now I'm having a complete brain wipe.
Like I did when they asked where I'm going.
Yeah, where you going
I
then?
went confused old man.
Remember, just think Gary Oldman and Bram Stoker's, and you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you. I did watch them before we started. Voldemir. What are you doing just sitting there? Do you not know where Tanya is? She has gone missing. I have to do this. That's the only way it works. If I shake my hand. Don't ask me why.
Sorry, is that how you pronounce Voldemar? Voldemir.
Yeah, sorry, I will correct it next time.
Okay.
Voldemar, are you not listening to me?
I look at her and say, Edina, I have scoured every place in the forest. I went to places forbidden for humans, and yet there is no sign of her. If we are to know one thing of Tanya, is that we really should get the priest. She will never return.
Sorry, I do not accept this answer. You know that she likes to go to Argynvost and hang around that stupid old Church of Dragon.
And I jump at her, put my hand over her mouth, and say, shush! There are places you cannot mention. And I look at our children, or 12 of them, that are gathered around the dinner table, and say, do not speak of places you do not know of. And I slowly back away.
I demand that you go out there and you find her.
I put my hands up. All right, woman. I will go out. I will search for her. But when you wake up tomorrow a widow, you will be the one regretting that you sent me out there. And I begin to strap on my quarterstaff to my waist with a leather belt and a small hatchet just in case I need to cut off some brush. And anyway, there's always a short supply of plywood and just random shit to burn in our house.
Apart from the furniture, right? The one table.
There's no furniture. Everything is a bed in this house. There are 14 people in a single room.
And a dirt floor. Yep, I can just picture it now. As you step out, it's one of the typical nights in Barovia. It's not quite nighttime. It's not quite dusk. It's never morning, and it's never afternoon. It's the wind blows quite bitterly, and the trees ruffle. But as you know, this is nothing normal. There's a little bit of mist out, but not enough to give you some concern as you set out to go to Argynvost.
I put on my hood over my hair and hope that tomorrow that goddamn woman that I happen to love with all my heart is going to be a widow, and she's going to regret for the rest of her life that she sent me out in this goddamn weather into this danger.
Excellent. So you set out and you go along the path. Although, as you know, walking the forest is just as dangerous in Barovia as walking the path. So you stay off the well-trodden path and head on your way, untroubled. You hear the ravens in the background and you feel quite comforted by that, for as you know, ravens are a source of good luck.
I also don't make a sound. I even try to breathe as quietly as possible as I'm walking. I'm trying to attract as little attention, and my cloak, which is mostly gray with a hint of green, just blends in with the surroundings. Hopefully that will give me some extra cover that I might hopefully will not need today.
What'd you roll? You're stealthing, right?
I'm not stealthing.
Okay,
I'm
you're
just
being
walking.
quiet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to mind my own business and hope that nobody will see me, because I'm not hopping around like a crazy bunny.
Excellent. Well, as your path is untroubled, but you do notice that the mists are getting closer, especially as you get towards Argynvost, which is an old abandoned mansion. long forgotten and decrepit and starting to fall apart. The once elegant windows are now all smashed. All that remains there are the bones of bars on windows and remnants of stained glass. And as you near it, the mists creep closer. And we're going to pause you there. And we're going to travel not too far from where you are to a village, or a town, should I say. Walled and bordered, probably the safest place to be in all Barovia. And in a guardhouse, there is a rookie speaking to a captain. And the captain turns to the rookie and he says to him, Alec, we need to go out and see some trouble. It seems that the old Vistani by the river, near Argenvost, is causing trouble again for travellers. The rookie, who is named Alec, sighs and shakes his head, and he's like, send old Gerhardt there. He's been pretty much useless since his wife died. All he does is sit there brooding. His heart's not in it anymore. The captain considers his words, and he shouts out, Gerhardt, where are you?
A somewhat tall human male emerges. He has the bearing of a man who's long used to discipline, a lifelong soldier. He has dusky, weathered skin, somewhat dark, black cropped hair, and obviously bearing the armor and uniform of a town guardsman. However, his head's become unkempt, a little unkempt. His jaw has a dusting of stubble, and his armor's looking quite worn and battered. It's quite clear that, to put it metaphorically, he looks like a blade that was once sharp and well maintained, a well-used blade that's now fallen rusty with disuse. He braces to attention and regards the captain. Yes, Captain.
We need you to go up to Argenvost. There is a Vistani camp nearby, and they are causing trouble for travellers. I need you to see them on their way.
The Vistani again. I was hoping you would have an assignment perhaps a little bit more important for me. I haven't been sent to clear out the Vistani for quite some time.
I know it is mostly rookie work, but since you've been on the beat for some time, we know that the matter will be handled efficiently and diplomatically. We obviously don't want to cause trouble for our Dark Lords. That devil Strahd.
At the mention of the name, Gerhard dips his head a bit and subconsciously brings a hand to his forehead, as if to ward off evil spirits. Still, he regards the captain and his eyes narrow a fraction and his throat tightens. But still, he gives a sharp nod. Very well, sir. I will leave immediately.
And so you set out from the village of Lecky, I do believe and pronounce.
It's
Valaki, thank you. And you travel along your way. You are a man not scared of what goes bump in the night. These are the roads that you have walked many a time. And once upon a time you used to walk them without fear. It is no longer confidence of no fear that you walk them now. It is a confidence of that you no longer care for what you encounter along the way. It is a grim night. The winds are blowing. There is a storm rumbling on the horizon. And you can see mists, and you've heard rumours of a terrible creature that haunts them, but once again, you do not care. As you start to get closer to Argenvost, because you are heading up there, and then you'll head down towards the river. The mists creep closer.
Gerhardt takes note of the mist and pulls his cloak a little bit tighter around his neck. But still he carries on. As an afterthought, actually, he takes a torch and strikes it up. He lights a torch to just to help illuminate his way.
Awesome. And we're going to pause there. Farunians, the mists start to disperse, and where you once couldn't see the forest, you can now see once again, but these trees are not the trees that you remember. Where you remember them as lush and full and actually full of life, these seemed hardened by hard weather. And the sky is a murky grey colour splashed with blood. The lay of the land has changed, and you seem flanked by either mists or mountain or thick evergreen forests. And suddenly you don't know where you are anymore.
Do you think we took a wrong turn, I say, looking around? This looks different from what I remember this road looking like.
I look up at the sky, rub my eye sockets a bit disbelievingly, and then gesture to the tall guide. Could you mind if I borrow them spectacles for a minute, sir?
He narrows his eyes at you, and he'll hand them down to you. He's curious.
And I take them, squint through them, slightly up at the sky, and then hand them back a moment later. No, that's not improved it any. I don't recall the sky being quite that colour before. Nor the trees, as a matter of fact.
No, this is...
Do you live around here? Is this normal?
It is not, and I have not been entirely forthright with you. The
Oh dear.
last gag is... It gets you hired, you know. This was not the adventure we were intended for. I do not know what's going on here.
Could you run that by me again? Sorry, there was an intended adventure?
Bit of a shock, I know, but yes,
No. I want a job, see. I can't afford to not be on the job.
no, but this is not it. This is not me. I don't know
So,
what this is.
But you know something about it, yes?
No,
Well, so Gideon's gonna try to look around a little more and see if he can recall see if he can see anything that would spark a memory or give him a hint as to where they're at. I got a 9. I don't know what I would add to that. Maybe history or insight.
Either. I'll allow either.
Plus 5 history, so 14.
Sorry, swallowing in chocolate. You have no idea where you are. However, there is a loose memory in the back of your mind of cities and people and places sometimes getting spirited away.
there is magical precedence for this sort of thing happening. Parties going missing, cities, towns sometimes, changing location, disappearing in a mist. But this was not in the cards. I don't understand.
As the mist clear a little bit more, you see a bright light heading towards you, and then suddenly coming upon you very quickly is a ruined mansion building. Its architecture is strange and unusual, quite gothic.
It just appears?
You're walking along, and then
okay.
as the mists clear, it comes upon you suddenly, and you also see this bright light. It could be fire, perhaps, but it's quite a way away.
I'm still a little bit preoccupied with Gideon, and I'm looking at him, trying to figure out if he led us astray on purpose. And I rolled a 17 on my insight check to see if he's just acting as if he's a tattery old man, or if this is some devised plan of his leading us here.
So with that check, you peer into this man's soul and consult your holy gut feelings. Maybe seeking answers from the goddess herself.
Oh, yes.
And it's a bit strange because you can't quite feel her. She's there, but she feels very far away. Almost like she's shouting at you from across a bay.
Okay.
And you get the sense that this old man is probably just as confused as you are.
I'm rubbing my belly because my intuition feels weird. And something is really wrong here.
Yes, quite.
I think we went farther astray than we thought.
I think you'd be right
I
there.
think you're blameless. And I say to Finny, he's just confused. Look at him. He's so old. His beard is longer than I am.
No, confusion was all part of the... Anyway, I was going to do...
As I said, he's confused.
Glasses,
Listen to him.
pass the test.
Take his hand or we lose him.
I owe you...
It's all right, grandfather. And I pat your knee because that's most likely the highest place I can reach.
Thank God it's nothing else.
There we go, first dick joke of the night. Well done.
Hey!
Yay!
Drink to that.
Everyone have a drink.
From a woman, no less.
It goes to Anne.
Can you imagine this gentle pat on the inner thigh from a halfling just
For anyone who's a bit confused, obviously I've been playing games with these guys for a while, and we have been described by Anne herself as a group consisted 90% of dick jokes. And considering that was the first one, I think we did pretty well. I think we did pretty well for the...
We lasted a whole hour without them.
A whole hour, well done.
It can only go downhill. It can only go downhill.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm going to interrupt you. And as you guys are trying to figure out what's going on, the mist's clear completely, and you're on a hilltop. Obviously, you have a mansion beside you, and you seem completely surrounded by ravens. And they're all cawing away. Obviously, they're not saying anything of interest, but they're just cawing and crying out. And as you do that, the light from the mist comes forward, and it is a man of grisly appearance, wearing a worn and tattered guard's uniform, or what you can presume is kind of like a local town guide, and then a cloaked figure with a large hood with a quarterstaff, and it's just the five of you staring at each other in a circle.
Finny lifts his hat a little bit and... Hello there!
hi guys. Do you happen to know where we are?
The guardsman frowns. He doesn't express much, but his brow knots sternly, and he says, "Well, it is clear you are no Vistani."
I don't even know what that is. So no.
Outsiders, then. I apologize. How did you arrive here?
I lift one of my foot and say, by foot? You were walking?
Some fog, not entirely sure myself, but it was quick and strange.
I apologize for my abruptness. It is simply you arrived so suddenly, but I know such things are not entirely unheard of in this land.
I walk up to the old man, who, just to clear Waldemar's perspective, I'm seeing an old man lead two small children into an abandoned ruin of ill repute. So I'm standing next to him and I stare him down and I ask him, "What are you doing here?"
Well, I would like to know the answer to that question myself, sir.
Gerhard, seeing the old man approach the outsiders unbidden, actually places a hand just on the pommel of his sword, pointedly, and just says, "The same could be asked of you."
I do not mind the guardsmen, but I stare at the old man and say, I've seen many come here to abandon children, and I want you to know that once I raise them, they will come for you. And I stroll towards the ruin.
Suddenly,
She's so supposed to be children? I ask Finn.
I've no idea, lass, to be perfectly honest.
Suddenly, lightning flashes. The storm that was once on the horizon seems quickly upon you. A man who appears handsome, dark-haired, dusky of complexion. He seems wrapped in a black cloak of red and scarlet. Black on the outside, scarlet on the inside, just to clarify. He smiles lazily, as if the smile that someone considers when they just get a nice piece of cake after a long day.
I immediately stare into the ground and do not lift my head up whatsoever, not an inch.
And Gerhard, although he stares, narrows his eyes at the newcomer. He makes sure to take his hand off his sword.
I'm smiling at the newcomer.
Yeah, I meanwhile offer the chap a wave. Hello there! Did you get lost on the way here too?
So we know who dies first.
Gideon will and he'll just kind of like step between the newcomer and the halflings protectively a little, like not maybe showing it necessarily, but just kind of like, he doesn't trust the situation.
I give a nudge to my fellow halfling and whisper, big people talk.
I guess so, yes. I'm looking around Quidion's legs behind his robe. So what's going on here?
So, he says in a deep, rumbling voice, these are the new ones. He seems to consider you all for a moment, his deep gaze burning into you. It feels like it's piercing your very soul, unraveling your secrets, undressing you all. No matter. He sticks out his hand from his cloak into the mists, and he says, Mist Flayer. Lightning flashes again, and you look out to where he pointed, and you see a large, shapely form appear from the shadows as if shaped from mist itself. You look back to the man, and as quickly as he came, he disappears. The shape out into the mists twitches and contorts. Its movements unnatural, inhuman. It lets out a low, rumbly growl.
Gerhard's lips part, and he just says, "The Mist Flayer. It can't be."
I'm standing very still, eyes tightly shut, but my fingers are starting to buzz with energy, because Maker knows that I did not want to come out tonight. My wife forced me to, and I'm not having any of this bullshit.
I'm holding onto Quidion's robe and then look at Finn and say, have you a clue what a mist flare is supposed to be? Should we be concerned? Should we let them handle this and run?
It twitches again, and it seems to be moving closer. It's obscured by the mist, so it's difficult to see. The sound of cracking bones and sluiced flesh echoes out, and this thing seems to have too many limbs. Sometimes you get a glimpse of like what may be a human body, but if it was a human body, then it's matched with other human bodies. it's very hard to tell, but it moves closer. It's twitching towards you. It's predatory. Its steps, each one is heavy, as if getting ready.
This is close enough, I say, and then I throw Sacred Flame at the creature. Let's get away from here!
I think you got the right idea.
Gerhardt, he's been, as the thing sounds like it's approaching, he's backed away and he's now drawn level with the halflings and the old man, and he just murmurs, I do not know what brought you here to this place and time, but I know that you could have not picked a worse one.
All of a sudden, around you, the ravens are cawing panically, crying out, and it is almost if something has gone up to your ear and you hear, run. And the creature bolts towards you.
I am running.
Yeah, Gerhard looks back and he turns to run. He places himself between the others. He, just in one smooth, practiced motion, whips out his shield and his sword, but he doesn't make any indication that he's actually going to fight. It's clearly just he's prepared to throw himself at the thing if it means the others escape. But if it's not going to come to that, he's perfectly fine to run. He looks to the man with the hooded man with the staff, and he just he says, "You cannot fight this thing. You must flee."
Do not tell me what to do, young man. And I hit my quarterstaff on the ground, cast levitate on myself, and levitate the fuck out as fast as I can.
Gideon, you think, was faking the hunch. He's bolting like full sprint. For an old man, it's impressive.
Finny, meanwhile, will be making sure to push Ella along in front of him before he bolts and crying out, okay, I'm convinced the girl doesn't pay enough for this kind of work.
I'm running and I'm yelling, I'm not afraid, just so you know, this is a tactical retreat.
Concerned
That's okay, lass, I'm afraid enough for the both of us.
Concerned that the children and their little feet aren't running fast enough, I circle around and pick the girl up and levitate with a penalty of DM's choice.
You can. The halflings are very light. You can levitate with a halfling. I might have given you a penalty if you had two halflings.
Only 27 looks.
I'm just taking the smaller one.
Okay.
Could be me.
Yep.
So the heavy footsteps of the creature were quite deliberate, and they were very heavy. This thing's in full gallop, and it almost feels like the ground is shaking beneath you, for those of you that are still on the ground. For those of you that are not, you swear the trees rattle as you whip past, running through the brush and the trees, and the howling of the wind seems to pick up, and you almost swear you can feel this creature's foul breath on the back of your neck as it gets closer. You quickly come to the realization that you are not going to outrun this thing. What you must do is find a place to hide.
How far away are we from the mansion? Have we passed it? Have we run away from it?
At the moment you are running away from it, but it's on a hill, so you could...
Yes.
We need to dress distracted and hide. Thanks for picking me up, by the way. Can you please get my friend?
No.
Oh, if I look, can I see if Finny is keeping up? Because I would want to help him if not.
So, as you know, halflings have little legs, and while he is going full pelt, he is not as fast as you tall people, so he is falling behind.
I'll turn, reach into my pouch, and there's just a sprinkle of metallic shimmer as I cast Protection from Good and Evil on Finny. As he catches up to me, I'll then take him and run with him if I have a chance to.
Yeah, you can, no problem.
You see Finny as the cloud settles over and just... and then carry himself back on.
Okay. Gerhardt's going to just shout out, seeing that they aren't likely going to outrun it, he will point with his sword to the top of the hill. He says, "Into the mansion! Run!"
I simply nod and start to levitate in a circle, trying to lose the tail of the mist flare, and levitate toward the mansion, thinking that my wife better cook some pretty good goulash when I come back, because this is way too much for a Sunday evening.
Right, so you're all moving towards the mansion.
Unless anybody objects.
Anyone
Yeah, Finny will
Yes,
be
I mean,
too.
I'm
Okay,
being
cool.
carried.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah,
Finny
halflings
will
are
let
being
me-
carried, but
Yeah, you have no say.
I'll barrel arm him and unceremoniously barrel arm him as I run.
Oi! Put me down, lad! I can run for myself, you know!
Right, as you move to the mansion, you see a fallen wall. Bricks lay everywhere, but you see a dark entryway, and you can head into it. As you do, you pause for a moment and look around to see where you can hide. You see almost... What are those things called in churches? The big benches?
Columns? Pillars?
Cloisters?
Pews?
Pews, thank
Pulpit.
you.
Oh, pews.
Okay, well done, you all did it. You
As
see-
we're running in, or as I'm being carried through this dark entryway, I'd like to try and ferret in my pack for a shovel. And as we're going through, drop it so that the blade is facing the doorway. And the handle's facing as though you're coming into it.
Okay. Alright, so you find some pews. You think that possibly this is a good place to handle. Some are fallen over, some are piled up at top. This is, as you look around this place, you kind of get the sense that this place has been ransacked several times. Yes, Gerhard?
Does the entranceway have a door, or is it just bare stone?
It's just bare stone.
Okay.
Okay, so as you clamber in this pile of pews... thank you. I'm just happier.
You're
as
welcome.
as you climb into these pews and hide your out of breath, you're trying to slow down your breathing lest it gives you away. And the creature comes barreling in. It's still quite masked in mist and it's quite shadowy. But suddenly you hear a loud metallic clink. And if those of you that peer out through gaps in the wood see the shovel pin up and smack this thing in what you can only assume is its face. It lets out a horrendous and bone-chilling scream. It then recovers from its stunned senses, and it looks around. This thing is possibly the most horrendous thing you have ever seen. It is formed from what you can only assume are human bodies. Its face, or what you assume is its face, is half a human head that skin has been stretched across. Its jaws are two long legs that have met and bit together. Once again, all the skin is all stretched and flayed and strange. Its giant jaw, which could easily swallow 3 humans, seems to be riveted by what you can only assume is ribs. This thing looks like it is possibly made out of 100 bodies easily. Randomly you get a glimpse of a tortured face that crafts this thing. It seems to be sniffing, searching. It lets out a low rumble deep within what you can only assume is its chest cavity. It seems to get closer to the pews for a moment. A giant claw made out of human arms rests upon the pews and they creak with the weight of this creature. You get a
I
glimpse.
stuff a hand in my mouth to keep from crying out.
Gerhard closes his eyes and grits his teeth and tries not to give his breathing away.
Same.
Its head comes down, it lets out a... as if it senses you so close and yet it cannot find you.
I'm going to use Channel Divinity, if I may, and create a perfect duplicate of myself behind the creature.
Okay. I need
If
you
I
to.
may.
You may, but I need. I need you.
Straight away, I think would that involve some sort of somatic
Yeah, that's
gesture? Gerhard is going to, if he's there, Gerhard is actually just going to reach out and just grab. It's to just grab her arm, just as if to say, "Stop." If that requires a check of any kind.
I'm not sure if I need to do some somatic because it's a trickery domain feature. I'm checking that now. Just bear with me, just one moment.
No problem. I'm gonna have a drink. How's everyone doing out there in the stream? Are you enjoying it? Well, we check up some rules.
It only says as an action you create. A perfect illusion that pops up.
Okay, if that's the case, then obviously you won't said if it was somatic, then that would be the case.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was thinking about as I said that. So, since it does not, I will allow this. And you create a duplicate of yourself behind the creature. This creature immediately spots it and it turns. It almost rises up on its haunches and its chest just twists. It doesn't even turn.
Okay, that's gross.
That's
down.
creepy. My duplicate is doing rude gestures.
Okay.
Sucking out his tongue and then running away through the door and then sneaking into the bushes.
Okay. As your doppelganger runs off, the beast immediately gives chase. Your hearts are beating almost in your throat. And you wait a while before you can feel like you relax. In the distance you hear that awful roaring howl as the creature has lost its quarry once again.
Gerhard lets out an exhausted breath and dares to sheath his sword. And he rises from the pew and he just huskily whispers, "That was the mist flare. It's only supposed to be a myth."
Well played, my dear halfling. And he claps his feet on the back.
I stand up, dust myself off. As I said, I'm not afraid.
I am.
It should be, because I have seen this thing rip a man's heart through his knees and throw it to the... What you did was brave, but next time, just try.
As Waldemar finishes saying this, Finnish is going to lean to one side and just at the side of one of the pews.
I point him to the other halfling with my quarterstaff and say, "This one has the right idea."
I'll pat him on the back. There, my boy.
I'm going over and pat his back. It's all right.
Yeah, Gerhard looks to them and he says, "Outsiders are not uncommon in this land."
By the way, where are we?
Okay.
Where are we exactly, and how the hell do we get back to where we were, and where that thing isn't?
You're in the eastern forest of Barovia. I take a few hefty stones and put them into my pockets in case I need to create some distractions later. I look up at them and slowly remove my hood, revealing a rather weathered old man with a younger than the other wizard person, but still with thick graying hair, with a bushy beard, and rather uncomfortably green eyes, almost unnaturally green, as if they're glowing from inside. And I say, "You have arrived to the worst place you could have ever imagined."
And how does one unarrive at this worst place that one could ever possibly imagine?
What he said.
You die.
Oh, splendid.
That's not an option.
I wish he were being colourful, but unfortunately that is not the case.
Gideon's fists are clenched down at his side, and he's just like a little irritated and angry looking almost. And he looks straight at the two halflings, and he's like,
I know you have no reason to trust me, but I swear on my life I will lead you from this place.
If only it were that simple, then none of us would be here. He looks to the old man for confirmation, almost.
Well, no offense to you, dear sir, but you are not a halfling. We are known to get out of twists that the big people can't get out of. Just you watch.
I rolled a 5 just to see if I know where Barovia is.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Your optimism is most welcome, if
It's
a little
19.
if a little alarming.
By the way, Rene just told me that there are a lot of redemptions for advantages and stuff in Streamlabs.
Oh, excellent.
I only see. Oh, sorry, I had to refresh.
Ah,
And he looks to Gerhard looks to the old man with the quarterstaff. He says, "And you, from which parts of this land do you hail?"
I am
From all of it.
Sword Coast.
I was born from this land and I will die in this land. So
Well,
what difference does it make to you?
I just want to interrupt. You rolled a 19, didn't you, Tahina?
yes, I rolled a 19.
You've, for whether or not you've heard of Barovia,
Yay!
in ancient texts, you have heard of once a glorious valley far out into the east that many, many millennia ago just suddenly vanished. And this land, in some texts, because you've read many in your acolyte studies, was named Barovia.
Well, just to in response, Gerd will say to the question. He says, "As one of those charged with the safety of its people, I must make it my business."
Safety of the people, and I spit under his feet. My daughter has been missing for 3 months and none of you have done anything. All you do is say, yes, we will look for her. Yes, we will send our best men to look for her. And never have I ever seen one of you wander into these woods, aside from today, because the Vistani are doing something, right? And I narrow my eyes at Gerhard.
Gerhard lowers his eyes in a subtle admission. He knows that arguing would be quite pointless, but there's definite sadness in there at hearing the old man's plight. He says that he just says, "Very well," and he looks to the others and he says, "You have only just arrived, is that correct?"
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I suppose you could put it like that.
Maybe
Wasn't even
introductions
sure.
are in order.
I wasn't even sure exactly how we got here in the first place, to be perfectly honest.
They say the mists are what brings outsiders to our realm. Only the Vistani, traveling gypsies common to these lands, are allowed to come and go as they please.
So, what you'd be saying is that we're not in the Sword Coast anymore.
I do not know where the Sword Coast is, but certainly by its name, it sounds a sight more pleasant than to the land. Sorry, it sounds a sight more pleasant than the land you have arrived in.
Well, for one thing, the local wildlife isn't quite as intent on what was it again? Picking a man's heart out and eating it?
It depends on which part you go to, but yes.
That's true. So what we need are Vistani, because they can get out.
Well, the question
Only if they do not eat you first. They have a
Right?
thing for the flesh. And
I'm just going to ask it now. Is there anything in this land that doesn't want to eat us? Do you two want to eat us?
I lower my back, so my face is on the same level as Finney's, and I stare him in the eyes and say, "Do I look like a child eater?"
Sorry.
I rolled a 0 to find out if she is or isn't.
I'll
I don't think it'd be polite for me to answer that one, I'm afraid. And it seems to shrink to become actually a little bit smaller, impressively.
Regardless.
I'm still standing on the back of the pews, so I'm eye level, mostly eye level with the big people. I'm like, I have you know, we are not children. We are hen. So if you want to eat children flesh, you are at the wrong place. I'm sorry.
You sure do like children to me, and I straighten back out and walk to one of the pews where I have my booze stash.
The question of infanticide aside, I'm afraid that for all intents and purposes, you are trapped here, just as we are.
Well, could perhaps we at least look to maybe getting out of this creepy old building that's probably infested by mite things almost as bad as the thing that was in the doorway over there. Before it comes back...
I start laughing, and you can only hear the rumbling of bottles and the as Waldemar is truly amused that you think this place is the dangerous one.
Gerhard basically just he just quickly enters says, well, before we do anything, I think introductions are in order. My name is Gerhard Werner. I am a city guardsman from the Valaki garrison. I don't know quite what brought you here, or why you have been brought here, but you are under my protection.
I stumble out of the pew with bottles of booze in hand. One of them is uncorked, and I spit out the cork into the rubble and take a hefty drink and laugh at that statement and say, well, I'll see you two in a month in a grave somewhere. His protection is going to be shit.
Oh, well, you can see that we are at a bit of a disadvantage here, not being from the land. Perhaps we could make use of both of your knowledge and perhaps figure out a way to survive this situation.
Preferably one that doesn't involve eating the flesh of small children.
Or soul-crushing sarcasm, for that matter.
And somehow he does have a 17 charisma, so.
He says, you must be tired. You must be tired and hungry. I suggest we retreat to somewhere more safe for the time being.
Well, I don't know how far these two traveled, but I was feet from my house in the forest, so I feel rested.
Wait a minute, you were traveling with us all that way away from your house?
I'm sorry, yeah, he did live nearby, yes.
Okay, well, we traveled all the way from
He's
what?
literally the old man who wandered out of a retirement house.
Just like a
Got
stereotypical
kidnapped by
wizard.
children.
He had a tower.
Well, it's just,
Grandkids weren't visiting, so.
Also, you're all very rude. He gave us such a well-mannered greeting and introduced himself, so let's do the same. And I bow to Gerhard and say, I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. I must have Yella Swiftfoot of the Weatherby clan at your service. You can call me Ella. Everyone does.
he nods, and a very slight smile crosses his lips. You kind of get the impression that that's about all he can manage, but he nods graciously, and he looks to the others in expectation.
As do I.
Okay, Finney, who's been looking quite understandably out of sorts by this whole thing and quite disturbed, at the mention of introductions, seems to take a deep breath and collect himself a minute. And then in one smooth motion, he takes his hat, sweeps down in... It's not a courtier's bow, but it's what a peasant might think a courtier would bow like. And he cries out, I'm Phineas Finnegan from Gale Maguire, but my friends be calling me Finney, and it'd be a great pleasure to meet the lot of you, if it weren't for the circumstances.
Boy, you talk a lot.
Funnily enough, my old Mary used to say the same thing.
That Gerhard lets out just a quiet chuckle. You don't know whether it's one of confusion or genuine humour, but and he looks to the other old man in the room, the
Well,
non-hostile one.
I am Gideon the guide. You will not have heard of me here, and I will not be much use here, but in my time I led adventures. I sought knowledge, magic. I might be able to lend assistance to our survival, should it come to that.
And
Right.
Gerhard looks to the final old man. And yours, I know I somehow seem to have earned your ire, but I would still know your name.
Well, in the meantime, Waldemar has been coming around and giving everyone a bottle. He has a lot of booze stashed in that pew, so he holds the last spare bottle, which he slams into Gerhard's chest and say, "No hard feelings. I just dislike your kind at the moment." I take a swig from my own bottle and say, "Waldemar Podlesny, not that you heard of me anywhere."
The best thing about the big people is the size of their bottles. I said.
Finny, meanwhile, with hands that have been shaking, will immediately just start necking half the bottle in one go.
And with introductions made, we're going to have a short break.
Woohoo!
Excellent. So we'll be back in a moment. We're gonna just have drinkies and cigarettes and toilet breaks, etc., etc., etc. And we'll be back in about 10-15 minutes.
Yep.
Don't go anywhere.
Please.
Get your drinks.
We
Get
have
your
abandonment
food.
issues.
Hello, we are back. Sorry, there is no intro video this time. I haven't set it up because I wasn't expecting to host, but that's okay. We're good. We're here. We're live. We're all in line. Is everyone enjoying it? Thus far?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you guys
it's
out
lovely.
there watching the stream? Are you having fun? I'll wait a little bit to see if you answer me. Anyone out there?
Don't know about them, but I was getting goosebumps that whole time, so.
It was great watching your voices, like seeing you cringe and going, oh, I did my job. I'm so glad I did my job.
It's very visceral, very vivid detail.
Excellent. And then I did my job. All my prep and all my stress this week was worth it. Like, seriously, I can show you on my phone later, but like all week it was like stress. Oh, you're fine.
Sounds like a wig.
Yeah, it was. Plus, we were doing this big project at work. It was all mental. So, if you're just joining us, welcome to Fumbles and Fame plays Curse of Strahd. These are my lovely players. You can see their names below you and where they are around the world, because we are an international Discord community that loves everything tabletop, mostly D&D, but we like other things too. So you should come join us and hang out. We're all friends and family here. So, just before we went away for a break, we were introduced to our characters. We have two Barovians, natives, who are acting as my exposition, so I could just sit here and just enjoy myself. And then we have three Farunians from the lands of Forgotten Realms, aka the Sword Coast. And they were going about their merry way before they were captured by the mists of Ravenloft. And they were dropped unceremoniously, should I say, into the land of Barovia. They didn't have much time to gather their wits or senses before they encountered the Mist Flayer, which is a kind of homebrew creature that I flung in there just for a bit of...
I'm sorry, I have to take a call.
Okay, take your call. A little bit... Oh, look, listen to that sexy Russian. It's good, isn't it? Anyway, we'll ignore that. Yes, so the Mist Flayer, a little homebrew creature that I've just flung in there for a bit of unique flavour. Perhaps we'll see more of it, perhaps not. Who knows?
Please not.
Then we definitely have to see more of it since you don't want to. Continue. So our characters have just introduced themselves, and I guess they're going to decide on what to do next. So we will take off from there.
Well, having chugged down half a bottle of this, whatever it is, drink, hopefully it's quite effective.
Roll me
Finny... Okay. Where are you showing? That's 12.
Okay, this stuff, you have never encountered it before in your life, and usually in the Sword Coast, when you're in taverns, barkeepers know of halflings and how little they are, and they're quite common in their taverns because of their merry disposition. But this is a full-size Barovian vodka, and it is just hitting you where you are. The world is starting to spin, and you're feeling a little bit woozy, but you're nice and calm. You're nice and calm. You've encountered a horrible creature that you've never seen before in your life. You're afraid of rats, but this thing is like your worst nightmare. Like the only way it could be worse is if it was a bunch of rats put on top of each other. So you're starting to feel more relaxed and let go, but it's starting to show.
I'd like to look at Finny and say,
Are you sure you should be drinking after that? And I point to the place that he vomited.
Believe me, lad, that needs replacing, and this be the best thing for it.
Point taken.
and then he'll.
And I
take
tell you something, I don't know what this stuff is, but it's damned effective.
Is it? I have a bottle as well. I like.
Gerhardt has actually placed his in his pouch, just quietly. But he doesn't drink.
Right.
Oh,
now,
I'm testing this.
in the meantime, if you don't mind, I'm going to go get my shovel. And I'm going to sneak back towards the doorway, but I'm going to do it as stealthily as possible and just have a peek outside just to reassure myself that that thing is nowhere in sight.
A most
follow a little
useful. Zygar just calls back, speaks to him as he passes, and says, "A most useful instrument you have there. Have you been involved in many such chases before?"
Oh, no, this definitely be the first time. I mean, I've been chased before, to be sure, but nothing quite as terrible as that.
I've faced down many of Barovia's most dangerous creatures, and let me tell you, never have I been more glad to run.
Right, that's a 17 on the stealth.
Okay, so you think you're nice and quiet, you don't disturb any rubble, you peek outside, and where it was quite misty earlier, it seems like the mist has cleared, and you can, from the hilltop, you can see out into the forest and the distance, and the mist lingers in the distance. You feel quite assured that the creature that had chased you previously is no longer there.
Okay, I'm going to collect my shovel and head back to the group.
Oh, by the way, I just need to get this out now before I forget, because I keep forgetting. The next 2 rolls will be with advantage, thanks to Kenshin and Zillium. So, Renee and
Cheers,
Ken.
guys.
Thank you, guys. So the
Thank
next
you.
2
Thank you.
rolls that you guys make, whoever makes them, will have advantage. And just for you out there, while you are watching, you are gaining XP. You can click on a button. If you're on a desktop, you can just mouse over and click on a little square that pops up and redeem your XP for benefits to either me or the players. So if you're feeling generous, give it to the players, and if you're feeling sadistic, give it to me, and I will make good use of it, I promise.
Well, with that, Gerhardt looks between them all and he says,
Cation!
In any ca-
Sorry! There I go, carry on.
no, he doesn't say that, but he does say, In any case, I believe it would be wise to move on. No doubt you have many questions, but they are not best
Yeah.
answered in a place such as this.
Okay.
I suggest we go to the town of Valaki. It is not far, and there you'll find many of the comforts that no doubt you are used to. And he looks to Voldemar, and he, as if to just emphasize that the invite includes him.
I rub the back of my hand and say, well, she did save me, and I point at the little girl who proudly declares herself to be something called Hinny, and I'm just letting it slide because children always come up with things like that. And I say, since you have saved me, I invite you to my house, but you shall know that nobody will disrespect my wife inside my house. You are welcome to stay, but listen to the woman.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Which is closer, by the way? What do you know?
Good question. Stay with me.
Because I assume
And the map
that
comes out.
Yay!
Voldemar would know, obviously, where Valaki is, and but obviously Gerhard doesn't know where where his house is. So I assume Voldemar will be able to tell if it's which one's closer.
I believe my house will be closer than the town.
She is correct.
Excellent.
And I say, Valaki is 4 hours on foot. My house is 1.5. You choose.
As a guide, it is my duty to return these two to safety. These, Henny, can you vouch?
We are hen.
Hen, sorry.
You are uneducated people, you. Halfling, that's what you call us, but we are hin. Because we're not half of anything. Can't you see that we are just as we are supposed to be?
In the meantime, behind her, Finney's just making very pacific gestures. It's okay, she's all right. Let her have a little crusade.
I look at her, remember how tall I am, and think that she's a quarter at best.
Yeah, I'm 2'8".
I'm 6'4".
When I stab you, I can stab you where it counts.
Considering what lurks in the mists, I believe that the nearest destination would be the wisest.
Well,
you have my thanks.
On that note, fella, the mists outside have kind of dissipated a wee bit, and you can see a wee bit more out there. I would hope that, given what that thing seemed to be made of, it might have taken the mists with it. So no mist, no monster. Maybe.
That's a good idea. Maybe it's just like that.
Still, I would not like to take anything for granted. I suggest we move cautiously.
By the by, I don't suppose any of you know what that big figure with the big cloaky thing was all about.
Gerhard sort of looks to one side. Sorry, is he talking about the guy, the man?
Yes.
Yes, he just sort of looks to one side, almost superstitiously at the mention of him.
Voldemar looks ahead, looks into the distance, and with every single ounce of his being, he's exhuming the idea that he knows who that was, but he's keeping silent.
Then Gerhard just says, "That was our lord and tyrant, the devil Strahd."
That doesn't sound very nice.
No shit.
I'd like to roll a history check and see if I've come across Strahd in any of my reading, my poetry, anything.
Oh, that's a good call.
I cock an eyebrow, look at Gerhard, and say, "For one who's serving him, you do not sound too fond of your master."
15, by the way.
I had only 12 history.
And since when is serfdom so willing?
Well, you could have stayed out of the guard.
He just doesn't. He doesn't dignify that, and he just keeps looking. He just keeps his eyes to one side. and nobody can quite see his expression.
So what we'd be saying is that we're not expecting to make a friend of him anytime soon.
With a friend like our Lord, you do not need enemies.
He did seem rather intent on killing us, yes.
Are there many people living here in Barovia?
Define living.
Pulse, breathing, feeling warm, eating,
Oh, plenty.
taking a dump.
Drinking, whoring.
No, living!
And I love your accent so much.
But perhaps it would be wise to discuss this when we've reached our destination. I wish to be out of this place as soon
Okay.
as possible.
Let's go. We can talk and walk.
Oh no.
Oh, yes! I say and jump down from the pew.
And
So you are saying there are people here that are not alive, as I walk towards the door? Like undead? Like constructs?
Like fake
Animal?
alive. They eat, they shit, they drink, they whore, and they die without leaving a trace on the world.
That sounds like a lot of people I know back home in Waterdeep.
Exactly, yes.
Guards is
No,
quick.
no. I shake my head and do not explain anything else.
As they leave and the mansion and walk out, Gerhardt also adds, they also love, and they raise children. They marry. They exist only as. How can one describe an existence one only knows?
I'm looking at Gerhard and try to get a clue what's going on with him because he sounds hurt. His voice sounds like he's in pain or something. And I rolled a 23 on insight to get the inkling what's going on with him.
Yeah, if you want to keep your feelings to yourself, I suggest that you roll a contestant roll.
There's no attempt to
Okay.
deceive. His words are simply his words.
You get a sense that this is a man that has loved and lost.
Oh, I feel sympathy for that.
I rolled a 12 on a history check to see if I remember the family his wife came from.
I'm just going to pause you.
Yep.
I'm just going to pause you there because I just want to say something. To my Fumbles and Fame admin, could you please not send me messages on Discord and put them in the chat because I can't see Discord because I'm hosting. Yeah, thank you very much. That is all. Continue.
Okay.
Do I even remotely remember where his wife's family came from?
Do you know his wife's name?
If he is from Valaki and that's the village I frequent, let's see.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
She's a good. She's a common woman. She was beautiful. So yeah, she may have well been yeah, it's not a large village, so she would have been somewhat well known, I should think.
11. I'm aware that he was married to a woman at this point.
Did you roll that with advantage?
No, I didn't roll an advantage.
Because I said the next two rolls will be with advantage. I know they were for specific people, but we're beyond that now. If you guys just put it in the chat, we'll get that thing.
It's still 11 with an advantage.
Okay. Alrighty. It wasn't a hard check anyway.
When they have a chance, I would
She
concede.
was from the family of Cantemir. A large but kind family known for their charitable deeds.
Thank you.
But yeah, Gerhard doesn't talk any further on the subject, and he just takes a position sort of at the head of the group and keeps a hand on the pommel of his sword and his shield ready as they set out.
I give him a sympathetic look, and then I settle up to Finny and walk beside him and say, "That one's heart has been broken."
What, the big soldier-looking type?
No, guard, the one who said he's going to protect us, even though I'm not sure if he really is going to do it, because the other one said he wouldn't, but maybe he will. You never know with those big folks, you know?
That's very true. That's very true. What makes you think his heart be all in pieces and all that? Like, I mean, he seems perfectly cheery to me.
I could see the heartbreak in his eyes. It takes one to see one, to recognize it in others.
Are you talking loud enough that Gideon would overhear?
Not sure.
She's yelling throughout the
No,
place.
I'm not. I'm just talking to Finny.
He was
I'm
kind
talking
of-
at me level, so...
If Gerhard could hear her, he makes no indication of it.
What if you'd be making a comment like... Sorry, go on, Matt.
Oh, that's okay. I was saying I had rolled a 15 to see if I had come across Strahd in any literature or recall any knowledge. Anything I've heard
No,
about.
you haven't. Neither of you
Okay,
have.
cool.
You know, if you'd be making a comment like that, Lass, it begs the question, who broke your pretty little heart?
Sorry, come on.
Say again, love?
Do we need subtitles for Finny?
I don't think I can take
Very
that
well.
fast.
I said, if you'd be making a comment about mutual heartbreak, who'll be breaking your pretty little heart?
I'm not sure if you have met him. He was living in Waterdeep as well. His name is Blasco.
If you ever frequented the Crusty Flagon, I might have.
Maybe.
Not with a roll like that. That's in that one.
You've
He's an
forgotten
artist.
it.
He's an
The name-
artist.
Oh, then he's well above my class, love. The Crusty Flagon's kind of home to a few more of the more common folk, if you like.
No, he's a classy one.
He
was.
What happened between you?
Yeah, you know. It just didn't work out in the end.
Oh, that'd be a terrible shame, Lass. And he takes your hand and sort of gives it a comforting pat. I'm sure there'd be others out there. My mother always said there was a great many more fish in the sea.
That's true. Now we
course.
are on an adventure and he is sitting at home. So
While that conversation is happening, I look at Gerhard under my brow and say, "You and the Cantamir's girl, right?"
He just gives a stiff nod, looking back slightly, but he doesn't say anything.
I just continue on until I say that it's a shame, all of it.
It's in the past, is all he says.
These two are just gonna brood at each other until we come.
It's only the first session.
Are
Don't worry.
you guys traveling?
Yes, I do believe
Okay.
so.
As
Yes,
you
but-
guys leave,
I'll be keeping an eye out as much as possible for, our friend.
Oh, they all
as
will.
you guys
Yeah.
leave, and obviously the Barovians are leading the way. As you kind of like head into the direction of Voldemar's house, the mist seems to come forward very quickly, like wispy fingers, as if not wanting you to go that way. And as you adjust your course to avoid the mist where it is clear, it seems to expand. So your way is definitely being forcibly guided.
Is it really apparent?
It's really apparent. Like
The
you,
mist.
you walk and the mist comes forward, and then you like turn and it goes away. It's like it's toying with you.
the mist is weird here, right? This is not just me drinking that weird stuff that he gave us.
I rolled a 15 for a nature check to see if I can still navigate to my house with that mist.
With the mist being as thick as it is, and knowing the danger that if you wander into the mists, you will die. As it is known well by Barovians, is that if you go out into the edges of the land and you wander into the mists, you will just die. And many have attempted it over the years.
Yeah, I said Gerhard was about to elaborate on that a little bit. Sorry, if you can say it. Or do you want to do it?
What?
Say Gerhard.
Why not
Gerhard
do
was
it?
about
Who
to...
gets the pleasure of the exposition? Gerhard or the DM?
Get out. Go on then. Knock
Okay.
yourself out.
He was just going to say, Gerhard was just going to say, the mists are the mists are Barovia's borders, if you will. No one enters them and leaves unharmed. And he glances back at the outside, at the others, and just says, "In fact, that is how the last many see of outsiders."
I'd like to contest that on account of me, the wee little lass, and the bespectacled fellow having come through the mists.
That's true. And it didn't hurt at all. It was just weird. And creepy.
is-
And cold.
It's a decision I'd regret, to be sure, but, we made it all right.
You entered Barovia through the mist. As for whether you would leave, I doubt that very much.
If you step into this mist, you die. If you hear the mists, you can die. If you see the ravens flying away from the mist, you die. And I turn to face the halflings and the wizard and bang my quarterstaff with each one. Just remember, mists means death. And I turn to lead again to my house.
With the
My,
comment about the
my.
ravens, Finny just tips his hat and immediately starts looking very much to the ground.
My. Isn't their disposition is about as sunny as the weather is here, right? I think they need some cheering up.
I don't imagine what you mean.
It's nothing a wee bit more that beautiful booze can't fix. And Finny takes out the other half of the bottle and takes a nice swig.
Okay.
It's
But
also
all the same, he does take out his bow and keep an arrow ready on the quiver, on the bow itself on the string.
I would also suggest that in the bottles, Voldemar has treated you to homemade blueberry moonshine. So it's
blueberry
dear.
vodka.
it's delicious, but it also will F you up.
Yeah.
It says it on the bottle.
It's just a skull, really, instead of a label.
I'm looking over the shoulder to see if Gwydion is keeping up.
Yeah, he's leaning over as if he's about to speak to Waldemar, and he's like,
Mr. Waldemar, if we cannot get to your home through the mist, where would be the next appropriate place to seek shelter?
Nowhere.
Jason's
just
creating his own like fog effect. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know. Every time I take a puff, I think I'm causing the mist effect across the screen.
He's going into the mist very slowly. I turn to the outsider and say, my house is the closest to the Argenswand Hold. If you do not want to stay there, you only stay at my house, or you wander for 4 more hours until you get to the village. So I suggest we take a little detour and then land at my house, just maybe in 20-30 minutes.
Okay, so you're taking a little detour. As you travel, the road gradually disappears and is replaced by a twisty, muddy path through the trees. The mist seems to allow this. It kind of gives you like a 5-foot breathing narrow space between the trees as it guides you looping around and everything. Deep ruts in the earth are evidence of comings and goings of wagons. The canopy of mist and branches suddenly gives way to black clouds boiling from above. There is a clearing here, and you seem to have arrived at the river. The river widens and forms a small lake, and several hundred feet across. And along the riverbank, you see 5 colourful tents and several colourful caravans. They're about 10 feet in diameter and pitched equally apart from each other. A much larger tent stands near the shore of the lake. It is sagging lit. It is sagging and lit from within. It's been there for a while. Near the tent, 8 unbridled horses drink from the river. The morning strains of an accordion clash with the singing of several brightly clad figures around a bonfire. The footpath continues beyond this encampment, meandering north from between the river and the forest's edge.
Gerhard just straight away immediately lets out a quiet foreign curse. So he just says, the Vistani. Was this part of your detour?
No, I did not realize they have crawled so close to my part of the forest. They have been where the salmon is, several kilometers away from here.
Has the Weatherby clan ever encountered the Vistani, being traveling folk themselves?
Roll me. You know what to roll me.
Okay. Roll what? History?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's 16.
You have seen travellers, gypsies if you will. They usually come from the Far East and they travel along with silks and exotic goods from the east into the Sword Coast. They are usually exotic far travellers. Their music and style of dress is foreign, as is their magic. And as you obviously are reaching this encampment, the mist's clear, and you can see 12 Vistani, male and female, just gathered around a campfire. They are drinking and talking, and they seem heavily intoxicated.
You know something? Those look a mite friendlier than the types we've encountered so far. Present company excluded, of course.
Yes.
Looks can be deceiving.
Well, they're bright, they're colourful, and they've got booze. I mean, what more do you want out of a person?
That they don't serve the devil.
They would?
Finney glances at Gerhardt and then averts his eyes very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Gerhardt is looking at them all stonily, and he says, "What Voldemar says is true. The Vistani are the servants of the Devil's Strahd. They are the only ones who may come and go from Barovia as they please. Remember that if you wish to approach them."
I think it's a good idea to approach them if they can go as they please, and we want to leave, so let's talk to them. Let's find out how they do it.
It's a bad idea. I place my hand awkwardly craning to the side on the girl's shoulder, and I say, they do not only go and come as they please. They are the only ones who can see Strahd and remain alive.
Well, we saw him, and I'm still living, I think, as I feel my pulse.
Gerhardt's actually going to speak again with a slight note of curiosity in his tone. And he said, "That you did. Perhaps the Vistani know why that is the case also."
So let's go there! And I twist out of Voldemort's grasp, and because I'm a small little Lightfoot halfling, I can occupy the same space as another creature, and I will switch through his legs and skip towards the camp.
As you make your approach, the Vistani that are drinking turn to greet you, and they offer a large wine bag that they're all swigging from. A man with a colourful, wide-brimmed, feathered hat. You have never seen colours like this before, and against the stark contrast of the gloom of Barovia, they seem so unusual. But they almost look like home. As you get closer, Ella, the man smiles, his teeth speckled almost, inlaid with gold. "It was fated that you should come and visit our humble camp. Madam Eva foretold your coming. She awaits you."
How fortuitous that we are here then now. Greetings.
Come warm yourself by the fire and drink with us.
Well, you never have to ask twice, says Finny, and he grabs one of the waiting bottles and
Thanks.
helps himself to a bit.
Gerhardt will sit down, but it's clear he's keeping his eyes and ears peeled for anything unusual. His expression is blank, and he's just watching for anything that could befall them.
And if I might be saying so, sir, that is a mighty fine hat you be wearing there.
It's pretty.
I am willing to trade if such things entice you.
What have you got for a shovel?
Shovels? We have shovels. As you can see, we have caravans. And caravans often get stuck in this godforsaken muck.
I'd like to do an insight check to see if these people seem inherently threatening at all. I've heard on the one hand that they are servants of the devil, and on the other hand, I've heard that I've seen that they're very colorful. They seem like people that I would have seen in where I come from. So, 15.
Okay, these people are colourful indeed, but they are also heavily armed. While they welcome you to their campfire and they seem quite relaxed that you are here and welcoming, you do get the sense that perhaps if you insulted them or engaged them, that they would not hesitate to slaughter you where you stand.
Okay, but I don't sense any maliciousness
There is
necessarily.
absolutely no maliciousness whatsoever. They're welcoming to you.
Okay.
Hoping to seem as unintimidating as I can, I just rolled a 14 on a performance check as I bust out a flute and try to join in with the music.
They seem absolutely delighted with your joining in their festivities, and they seem to resume what they were doing before you came upon them. That was telling stories. The man with the colourful and wide-brimmed hat seems to ignore you as you warm yourselves by their fire, passing the drink along, passing a pipe to smoke as well. And he regales a tale. A mighty wizard once come to this land over a year ago. I remember him like it was yesterday. He stood exactly where you are standing now. He gestures to Finny. A very charismatic man he was. He thought he could rally the people of Barovia against the devil Strahd. He stirred them with thoughts of revolution and bore them to the castle en masse. When the vampire appeared, the wizard's peasant army fled in terror. A few stood their ground and were never seen again. The wizard and the vampire cast spells at each other. Their battle flew from the courtyards of Ravenloft to a precipice overlooking the falls. I saw the battle with my own eyes. Thunder shook the mountainside, and great rocks tumbled down upon the wizard. Yet by his magic he survived. Lightning from the heavens struck the wizard, and again he stood his ground. But when the devil Strahd fell upon him, the wizard's magic could not save him. I saw him thrown 1,000 feet to his death. I climbed down to the river to search for the wizard's body, to see if you know, if there was anything of value. But the river Ilvis had already spirited him away.
Right, so I'm just going to put it out there, but when you say vampire, that's the kind of thing you say to scare away children. There's no such thing as vampires, right?
My friend, I can see you have not been in Barovia long. But no, the Lord Strahd is one such vampire.
Oh boy.
When you say Lord Strahd, do you mean that handsome man with long dark hair and a cloak made of black and scarlet? That's a vampire?
Gideon's putting two and two together, and they're like, oh, he realizes that we're in a lot more trouble than we thought.
Voldemort is having a stroke right now.
He says, a vampire's disguise is often one of temptation, but do not let the disguise fool you, for beneath the handsome devil of a man lies a pure monster.
So I'm gonna smile and I'm going to sit next to him and I'm gonna take the bottle that Waldemar had given us each earlier, and I'm gonna offer him a drink, and I'm going to say,
Well, speaking of handsome, have you got any more stories about this wizard, handsome?
and I'm going to try to. Oh no! I'm gonna replace that roll with a 15. Divinity. And I'm just gonna try to like charm him into telling us more stories.
He grins at you wise. He's like, I am quite sure my wife would not agree with you, but who am I to argue against a friend? And we are all friends here. And he takes a deep drink. We Vistani love to tell stories, but do not let me delay you too long. Madam Eva does await for you, so I will tell you one more. What do you wish to know?
I wish to know a little more about this wizard you spoke of. Do you happen to remember his name or anything else about him?
I do not remember his name, no. Sorry, Jason took my cigarettes away. I do not remember his name, no. But Madam Eva, she is a powerful seer. As I said, she foretold your coming, so perhaps you should take her questions to you.
So Gideon will nod and just tell him that he appreciates his time and candor, and will stand and look at the rest of the party.
Shall we, then?
Finney, meanwhile, gives Ella a quick nudge. You know, I'm starting to think that the girls might have announced my arrival on the next travels, because it seems like almost everybody's kind of expecting me. Or am I just being conceited?
No, I do think so. That's weird, right?
I might finally be getting the fame and recognition I deserve.
How much for the hat, dear man? I asked the leader of the Vistani.
He raises 3 fingers and he says, 5 crowns.
What's a crown?
You wear it.
It's the thing that sits on the head of the regal types.
Yeah, but it sounds like a coin.
Yes, the gold ones, crowns.
The gold one. Unfortunately, I have only 2 gold coins, but they are with the crest of Waterdeep. Would you trade them for the hat? I rolled persuasion to see if you will. And I rolled a 1, but I'm a lucky halfling. Oh, that's much better. That's 25.
He smiles at you and he
Give him a
bends
cheery
down
grin.
and he says, 2 crowns and a kiss.
You have yourself a deal, good sir. Mwah!
He takes off his hat, to which his hair is wrapped up in a bandana. He takes your two coins and gives you the hat.
I take the hat, give it a good look, dust it a bit off, say, this is a splendid hat, and then I set it on Finney's head. That's for your bravery in that mansion. And because it goes along with your outfit. You seem to love ostentatious clothing.
The moment we're out of earshot from this gentleman, I lean over to her and I say,
Well, too bad for me he asked you to give him that kiss on the cheek. Were I younger, back in my day, I was quite handsome.
I don't know what to say to that, to be fair. I mean, and he takes the hat off and he's got one obviously on his head currently at the moment, and you can see him sort of waving both up. Nobody's ever brought me anything quite so ostentatious for a long time. I'm touched.
As you said,
Gerhard.
we seem to be famous. You have to look the part. I mean, I'm a dark
Well, I mean,
menacing.
I've got the rest of it down, he says, and he pulls on this bright green waistcoat that's surrounded by a bright orange jacket and runs down into a pair of bright purple trousers.
I look Finny over and say, "You look like a bride that doesn't know what to wear for her wedding." And I raise a very slow thumbs up.
I'll take that as a compliment, I think. Now, what do you reckon with the hats? And he tries swapping them over a little bit. He's got one that's sort of a pale brownish with a little feather sticking out of it, and then he's got whatever this new one is, whatever colour that might be.
You need
When
to take
he-
the new one.
When he puts the new one on, I just slowly say, "Gorgeous," without any expression on my face whatsoever.
Right, time for a change then. And he whips his old hat off and buries it in his backpack somewhere and puts it on at a rakish angle. Stands proudly with both legs spread and thumbs in his trousers.
Now
I
you
am
look
quite
like someone
glad that-
famous.
I'm quietly glad that now he looks awful, and that's thanks to me.
That's subjective. Excellent.
You know something? Maybe this place isn't all that bad.
Yes, at least you look bright and cheerful.
Oh,
Indeed.
that's always the way we are.
Indeed, being pursued by a mist flayer the moment you arrive is easily compensated by the acquisition of a brightly coloured hat.
No, you be talking me language. We be on the same page, we are.
Also, we got blueberry moonshine. This counts for something as well.
Don't need an inside check to read that sarcasm.
Yeah, though I do, guys, though I would suggest that you have that hat checked for curses in the near future. I believe we should make haste to this Eva woman and see what she has in store for us.
As you say that, Finney's hands sort of very slowly reach up and pull the hat off and give it a look under the brim. Can't see anything.
It's not cursed. Much too pretty to be
for-
cursed.
Like dandruff flakes.
No, Finney's actually quite well washed. He's at least groomed.
No, not from Finny.
Okay.
Yeah, like old man's scalp.
He gives it a cautious sniff and then... I've seen worse around Waterdeep, you know.
Finny, if it is ever a question of magic or curses, let me know. I can take a look at that sort of thing, you know.
If you fancy doing the honours, I suppose.
So I'll actually, I think I have tech magic, I do.
I would highly recommend you do so. While they seem friendly, the Vistani are known for their curses and hexes.
So it's a verbal and somatic, so I wave my hand over it and I whisper into the hat, and do I sense any magic from the hat or anywhere nearby?
So as you whisper into the hat does not whisper back. This is just a hat.
It is simply a hat, my dear boy.
Of course it's not cursed. I traded it for a kiss. For the goddess's sake. You big ones are so weird.
Well, thank you for the trouble,
that your
sir.
kisses cure curses.
I have never tried it, but maybe.
With lips like that, how can they not?
Haha!
I look weirdly at Finny because that sounded way more weird than I was prepared.
Yeah, Gerhard's actually just gonna chuckle quietly at the banter and turn towards the
Let's go to Eva.
the tent. Yes.
I thought we were walking there already.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, no, were we?
It's a really far away tent. I didn't want to interrupt you guys because you were having
Poor
fun.
Madam Evie is listening to us and she's like, "God damn, those are some idiots that fate has predicted."
What have I let myself in for?
You get what you summon.
As you enter the tent, magic flames cast a reddish glow over the interior of the tent, revealing a low table covered in a black filigree cloth. Glints of light seem to flash from a crystal ball on the table, and a haunch figure peers into its depths. As the crone speaks, her voice crackles like dry weeds. Ah, You have finally arrived. Cackling laughter bursts like mad lightning from her weathered lips.
You were expecting us.
Why, yes, Gerhardt. I was.
I told you it wasn't me.
How do you know my name?
I see and know all. Just like I know your pretty wife died not so long ago, before your child could be born.
As I said, heartbroken. I whispered to Finn.
Gaz just fixes her with an icy stare, but just like his expression remains blank.
She looks at you, all expecting one of you to say something.
I remain silent because my mother taught me better than talking to random old women in their caravans.
Finny, meanwhile, doffs his new hat and drops into the peasant's bell once more. Phineas Finnegan, Finbar, Fingale, McGuire, at your service.
Yes, Finny, I do know, and my what a fetching hat that is. But while you are afraid of rats, please note that one day you will overcome your fear, for I have seen it.
I'm not afraid of any rats. What would a man who works for the Rat Catchers Guild be doing working for rats? Being afraid of rats and all that.
I look at Finny and say, seriously? Rats?
No!
That's what jingles your jingle?
What in the who now?
Voldemort,
Gideon will.
father of Barovia, don't be so cruel.
How can a man be not a cruel one in a time such as this?
A man with as many children as you do should treasure these little people.
Clearly,
I shall
my
treasure
dear-
them only after my real children are safe.
I suppose that is why you have come.
I remain silent.
Gwydion the guide?
Clearly, my dear lady, you have wisdom to impart. What would you have us do?
Would you like a reading and allow me to foretell your fate?
I'm pretty sure I've seen this trick before in a market stall in Waterdeep. They made quite a mint of it, as I recall. It didn't go down so well the next morning.
I promise you, Finny, that my magic is as ancient as the curse on this land.
Tell us more! As they come closer to the table. And do my fortune next, please.
I'm afraid that your fortunes are all entwined, so I will do one reading. I know that it is this land you wish to escape. And you can, if you defeat Strahd. But defeating Strahd is not all that you must do. You must break the curse on this land, and this is why the mists have pulled you here.
Defeat Strahd? Can you define it? Because I hear that he's a vampire and they're not easily defeated, and then we should break a curse as well? I mean...
I
What?
think there's been a wee bit of a misunderstanding. I think you're looking for the other Finny McGuire from Netherwinter.
I will tell you how to defeat the curse, and in doing so, you will free not only Strahd, but all the people of this cursed land.
Do you think that others in times past have not tried?
How many of you have come close?
So many have come, and so many have fallen. But I have seen it. I have seen it in the cards that you will finally break us free from the torment that is Strahd.
And how are we supposed to trust you?
Well, you're not supposed to at all. I am here to give you a reading. I am here to tell you how to break the curse. And you can either follow my advice and succeed, or not follow it and die.
So what do we have to do to break the curse?
You need to find several items. These items are key into breaking the curse of Strahd. The first you must find is known as the Tome of Strahd. This holds all his secrets, his magic, his past, and by unlocking his past you can finally free him and bring him to the future. And she draws a card. This card tells of a history. Knowledge of the ancient will help you better understand your enemy. You can see that it is the 8 of Stars. It is the Necromancer. And I did have all these organised. But with all the stuff
Tech
that
issues?
happened, yeah, all the issues that happened, I mixed them back up again. And I just had it. I know it's gone again. Intermission music. Here it is.
Just Star Wars Cantina song starts playing.
Okay, so here it is. You can see it. This is the Necromancer card. She points to
That
it.
art is lovely.
Yeah, isn't it?
Ominous.
I love these cards so much. I'll give you a tour later. This card tells of a powerful force. Shut up, Dizzy. This is a woman hangs. Sorry, the cat distracted me. A woman hangs above a roaring fire, and if you find this woman and find this fire, you will find the treasure that you seek. She draws another card. It is the Abjura. I'm not even going to find out. It is the 4 of Stars, the Abjura. I'll show you later. It's pretty. Excuse me while I murder this cat.
God, he's obnoxious.
That's the cat familiar is chiming in.
Yeah.
You're reading those cards totally wrong.
Yeah, should have worked in. Lady Eva turns to the annoying cat in her tent and turns it into a frog.
Tomes and nonsense. You need a teddy bear, a bottle of wine.
Turns the cat into a goulash.
You need to find the symbol of Ravenkind. This card tells of a powerful force, good and protection, a holy symbol of great hope. I see a fallen house guarded by a great stone dragon. Look to the highest peak, and you will find it. She draws another card. It is the 2 of Coins, the Philanthropist. This card is a power and strength. It tells of a weapon of vengeance, the sword of sunlight. And as you can all see, sunlight is deeply needed in Barovia. Look for a place where sickness and madness are bred. The treasure lies still. She draws her 4th card. This here is an enemy of Strahd. He will aid you in this quest and ensure your success. Find him, and success is yours. I see a fallen paladin in this card, of a fallen order of knights. He lingers like a ghost in the dragon's lair. Finally, when you have gathered all these things, you must seek Strahd out. You will find Strahd for this final encounter and break his curse upon him. Strahd lies in the place of rest of the man he envies most.
Geralt grumbles. He says, "Had I not encountered a mythical beast mere hours ago, then I would call your words deluded rantings."
I'll quite happily do that. Deluded rantings, definitely.
She laughs.
But as it stands, I think this is a time where madness becomes truth.
And you
Is
will
she
find
mad?
much madness here.
I look at her very intently to try to get into my gut feeling. And I rolled 18 on insight. Is she mad or is she deadly serious?
You peer into her soul. She meets your eye wildly, and you get a sense that this madness is all an act.
I
So
look at her and I say, I think this is a truthful reading. She's a true fortune teller. And you said you're a diviner as well, so you should know that, Gideon.
I actually rolled a 19 on insight checks. I assume I know that.
Yep, you do.
Yes, she is quite authentic. That is correct.
I think I need me another bottle of that moonshine.
I approach the woman and raise a small wood-carved dog on my hand, and I say, I plucked this beloved toy from my son, my youngest son, and he will hate me for it for months. But will you trade me another reading for this doll?
Yes. As you know, West Vistani love to trade. And such a treasure that you have given me.
It breaks my heart, but I place the wooden dog on her table, and I say, is there anything you can tell me of my beloved daughter Tanya?
She turns to her crystal ball instead of her cards, and her fingers are around it as if she's just churning the light within. And she looks within, and she says, Tanya lives, but for how long I cannot tell you. She is located, bear with me, wrong page, you guys killing me. And I'm just gonna...
She unzips a binder that says, kidnap victim locations. She's just randomly picking up a page while I'm waiting.
Hold on while I Google it.
There are so many of them in Barovia. It's not easy.
I know, right? Thank you. One's not prepared.
I know it's not America, but have you tried milk cartons?
I see walls of bones, a chandelier of bones, and a table of bones. All that remains of the enemies long forgotten.
There is no color on my face, and as I silently bow to this woman and take my place among the other people who have stumbled upon this caravan, and I bite my tongue because I am not feeling good about this at all.
I must warn you all, as you exact this quest, you have caught the attention of the Lord and Master of this land. He will toy with you, he will tempt you, and utterly he will attempt to destroy you.
Yeah, he kind of tried earlier. Didn't give me a great first impression, I got to admit.
Oh, that's old flesh thing. It is a mere plaything to what Strahd can actually do to you. So be aware and be on guard. Trust nothing and no one, for Strahd spies are everywhere.
I've just got to say it, I'm afraid you're absolutely the worst saleswoman I've ever come across.
She is not selling the young one. But you are the thing that can be sold.
Please respect your elders. Voldemort is right.
Old Bad Club unites.
Those spies you mentioned, the Vistani would number among them.
Of course.
Which makes me question, why are you so eager to bring him down?
I do not wish to destroy Strahd. All I need is his curse lifted, and you will lift the curse.
You did not answer my question. Why are you helping us?
I look at the young man and say, she did answer the question. She told you.
It was not the question I asked. Why are you helping us?
I told you. I wish the curse lifted.
Sensing he's going to get no more than that, Gerhard's actually going to just kind of irritatedly toss his cloak over his shoulder and he's going to leave.
Off. Ow. Hurt myself. If there's nothing more, you must be on your way. For the longer you are here, the higher chance it is that Strahd will come and find you.
I apologize for the young one. He hasn't lived long enough to get used to the fact that in Barovia there are no direct answers to any question.
Such is our way.
Just to be clear, you, Bistani, can come and go as you please
That is
into the land of Barovia.
That is correct, we can.
So you could not take us, or at least us two, take with you. We are small, we don't eat much. We fit into a small chest. I'm used to traveling life.
I am afraid that if we ventured into the mist will eventually kill you.
That sounds unpleasant.
The only way to leave is to lift the curse.
Then lift the curse we will.
What?
We are destined to do so. She said so, and she's a real seer. Gwydion said so as well.
Oh boy. I think you've been listening to too many fortune tellers. You ought to see the types of charlatans you get down in Waterdeep.
I mean, we can't leave, and the mist is going to kill us, so we are stuck here anyway, so just let's fulfill our destiny while we are here. Or do you have anything else to do? And you have a fancy hat.
And I had a job to do back in theatre. I am so fired.
Let's lift the curse, save this land, get out of here, and I'm going to help you with your job. And then we can go and retrieve the artifact that I'm after.
It does seem that our options are die, or lift the curse. I concur.
I'd like to add another option. Drink. I'm finishing next another shot of this bottle to try and help him cope with it all.
I invite you to stay with us the night. It is dark already, and it is not safe to travel Barovia at night.
Is it safe to travel Barovia at any time?
It's safer. What you would consider dawn here. But yes, stay.
I'll look at Waldemar and ask if he thinks it is a good idea to stay the night, if he would accept this invitation.
I roll 14 to on a survival to see if I can navigate during the night to my house from here.
But considering the mists led you here, and you are now here, you probably could venture to your house before anything serious comes after you.
And I shake my head and put a hand to my chest and say, with no disrespect to you or your kin, but I would rather return to my children.
Very well. Give your wife her regards, for there's another mouth to feed.
Voldemar looks like he had been just struck with the lightning, and he just grumbles, and throughout his grumbling, you can hear the words come out. Not pregnant in 18 years, and now she's pregnant.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, and we're not staying here. I mean, they have a fire, they have food, they have booze, they have music.
I wave my hand at them and say, no, my house is 15 minutes away from here, and I need to find out why my wife is pregnant.
Well, normally, if a man and a woman love each other very much,
That's a normal laugh, by the way, not my usual cackle.
I look at the child and I say, you should also know that once the moon blood stops in a woman, that she does not bear children.
maybe it stopped because she was pregnant. That happens, you know?
It stopped 5 years ago.
That is weird. I give you that. So maybe you are just very fertile. God
I
is
swear this
blessed
place
you.
gets stranger. We'll talk.
Voldemort just shakes his head and says, then I'm just the luckiest man in the world, and I step outside to get her.
Yeah, Gerhardt's just waiting outside. You guys can see him just waiting patiently by the entrance.
Well, shall we?
And I'll motion to the halflings and see if they want to come with.
Okay, I guess. I mean, yeah. I trudge behind.
With a bow to Madame Ava, he'll follow them out.
No worry, we are going to lift this curse in no time.
See that you do.
I say to her. I see Gwydion staring at me like that, and I was like, hey, we are destined to do so. What should go wrong? And thunder rolls through the sky.
Yeah, you nailed it. So you're travelling to the house of Voldemort.
I'm cutting out.
You're cutting out?
Oh, interesting. So you're heading to the house of Voldemort.
So it would seem.
Yeah.
Cool. So he takes you through the forest, the dirt path, and the wagons eventually disappear, and you come along a well-trodden path that leads to a very, very small shack. This shack looks not big enough for, or let alone 3 people, but you hear such a noise coming from there. A noise of a family.
Are they having a fight?
No, it just sounds like general. Possibly, it sounds like
Ruckus?
general family ruckus. Yes.
Finny looks a bit relaxed at the noise and naturally smiles for the first time. That almost sounds like home.
How many kids do you have?
12. And I open the door. The shack is quite clean. We keep it nice and pristine, and it's easier to keep track of things when you know where they are. But inside there is one room. There's a fire pit in the center, and the smoke comes to a hole in the rooftop. On one side there's a huge table with enough food on it to feed like a large village for 10 days, but in fact all my children will just eat that food for just tonight as for dinner, and there's a large number of bunk beds on the other side of the shack. And I come in and say, Edina, prepare for guests, and Bartosz, I'm very sorry, but that dog doll isn't lost. I took it and it's not coming back. And I begin to strap off my cloak and my walking clothes.
Your wife is standing at a fire pit with a large cauldron, and she is tasting what she is cooking, and the actual hut itself smells quite divine. Whatever is cooking smells quite tasty, and she puts a hand on her hip and she holds the spoon like she's going to beat someone with it. And she says, I tell you to go find our daughter, and you come back with 4 more mouths to feed. I am sick to death of living in this pit with all these screaming kids all day, and you bring me 4 more mouths to feed, and we do not have enough there. Where are these people going to sleep? And she just
Oh
goes
no,
off
you
on-
didn't.
And then she just goes off on like a complete rant.
Yeah.
I put my hands on her shoulders, pull her in for a kiss, and while she's dazed after a kiss, I say,
these people helped me find the Vistani people who know where our daughter went. So be a little respectful to them and feed them tonight. Tomorrow they will be gone, and I will go with them to find our daughter.
And then mention that you have found where your daughter is. She seems to calm, and obviously she's like a young, like girlish grin at your advances. And she gestures to the table, and I'm like, come in, sit down, make yourselves at home. We do not have much, but whatever we have, you can have.
Gerhard gives a polite bow, and his armor clinks as he takes a place at the table.
Thank you, kind lady. And I hop on the next table, on the next bench to sit down. You are as beautiful and as generous as your husband led us to believe. Positively glowing.
At the sound of that, she just kind of pales and then like busies herself at the cooking pot.
Yeah.
Finny, meanwhile, approaches the woman and sort of gives her a little bit of a pat on the elbow. I don't mean to be encroaching upon your hospitality at all, lass, but if you'd be struggling for a mouse to feed, you might find these help. And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small handful of purple berries, 10 in all. And he says, you might find they're actually quite filling. Shouldn't need to go around all that far.
And she looks at the 10 berries and this supposed child that she has given them, and she goes, oh, Valdemar, why do you have more children? What woman have you been sleeping with that you bring me 2 more children? I am not
God.
I am not here to raise your bastards.
I gesture at Gerhard and say, they are his. He is married to the Cantemir's girl, and you do not need to chastise me today, woman, because I will be asking those questions tonight and from you.
And we are not children, I say and stand up on the bench. We are hen!
Gerhard
I'm 33 years old!
Gerhard scratches his head, but knows better than to correct him.
I can assure you that my father lives quite a ways away from here. Definitely not related to anybody, I think. I mean, he got around a bit, in his later years, but as far as I know, no blood ties here.
Yes, we are not related to you.
I pick up Finny and put him at the
Put him
table
down!
and say, look, he's blubbering just like Cantemir.
Gerhard's just going to murmur to Finny. He's going to say, I think it is best we play our parts in this little drama.
I'd be up for that if it wasn't for the fact that I know a child doesn't get hold of any more of that moonshine.
I'll slip you some under the table.
Excellent, as he says.
I'll be holding you to that.
Gerhard actually just then looks to Voldemar and he says, this is quite the home you have. I've known of a few folk who live outside the settlements, but none quite so comfortably as this.
Comfort is a relative commodity when you have so many mouths to feed in such a small place, but we make do with what we have, and we try to help those who need it.
He nods appreciatively, slowly but appreciatively, and he sort of goes on. Do you have problems with safety, beasts and the like?
Not usually. I have bear traps and rabbit traps all around the house, and my boys and people that he calls boys are young men in their early 20s that appear to be 2 or 3 sizes too big to be human, and they are sitting next to him, and he just pats one on the shoulder and says, my boys usually take care of everything else that tries to get to us.
You are fortunate to have so many strong sons.
Voldemar nods and points at the small one at the end of the table. He appears to be around 8 years old, and he is very slowly shedding a single tear as he's staring into his plate, and you can clearly see that this is the boy whose dog toy has been traded for a reading at the Vistani camp.
He chooses not to notice or get involved. But he does. His expression firms a little. He says, "Your daughter. How long did you say she had been missing?"
3 months. She went to pick berries in the forest. She was not supposed to go farther than third line of trees, and she never came back.
And you say you reported this to the guard captain of the Vallaki garrison?
On the same day. Then he said, "Girls run away from home. Come 2 days later." But I know what happens when you are missing for 2 days. I came, and he sent me back away again. And I came again, and he sent me away. And since then, I've been looking on my own.
Gerhardt's expression is hardened further, and he's sort of staring across the table at nothing in particular. He doesn't say anything more, but you can see his fist clenches a little bit on the while it lies on the table. His sort of chain rasping a little bit as his fist tightens, and he just grumbles, "I will have to look into this myself. My duties have become more sparse over the past few months. This was something I could have handled. I'm surprised he did not mention it."
I have suspected the worst. Voldemar says that quietly, so only Gerhard can hear him. Because why would he ignore my girl if he hadn't had something to do with it?
Edgard doesn't particularly answer, but he just lets out a deep breath, and he says nothing more on the subject.
Finny, meanwhile, will have been trying to catch the attention of the weeping child, and he'll have pulled a little something rather long and thin from his pocket and be making sort of a "come here, have a look at this" kind of a gesture.
The child is quite shy, and he catches your eye, and then he immediately looks back down to his bowl.
Finny continues to pull this thing from his pocket, and he ends up with what looks like a long whistle about the length of his forearm. And he puts it to his lips, covers a couple of the finger holes, and gives it a quick blow, and you get a slight musical melody from it. And he smiles, winks at the kid, and sort of holds it out to him. Not to give it to him, but sort of to entice him closer.
The child, and several of the people in the room, but not all of them, seem to brighten up and look absolutely delighted at this melodic tune that you have made, as if they've never heard this before in their lives, and they all kind of gather closer to you.
Okay. Well, Finny's looking for this kid specifically for whatever reason, and he just goes, "Do you want to? Go ahead, lad. You try giving it a go yourself."
I gestured to my son that he can in fact approach this strange non-human baby man and take the toy.
And so the child gets down from his seat on the bench and he comes closer, and he's practically as tall as you, if not taller, and he tentatively reaches out to take the flute from you.
Then he holds up a hand and he sort of turns the flute a little bit, puts the mouthpiece towards the kid's lips, but covers the finger holes with his own fingers and just says, "Give it a wee little blow, lad." And he prepares himself to play it effectively as the child blows.
So the child not hearing... Yeah, definitely. The child not hearing your instruction to blow gently takes a deep breath and gives it a mighty blow. you can see his cheeks fill with air, and an absolutely piercing noise screeches from this flute.
Can I roll performance to see how well I can handle it sounding something like music?
Yes, please do. He rolled a 3, by the way.
I rolled the same.
Excellent. So it is an absolutely high-pitched screeching, like.
In fact, I actually rolled a 1 thinking about it. Sorry.
Absolute screeching noise, like nails on chalkboard, piercing noise, and everybody winces.
Finney pulls the flute away and looks absolutely delighted. You've got a great pair of lungs on you, lad. You should have one of these yourself, you know. Here, try it a little bit more gently this time. And he goes in, trying to coax him to do it again. Nice and gentle now. Nice and easy.
Okay, so yet again, the child takes a deep breath, and he blows softer, but it's still too hard for the flute.
Okay. My performance is again crap. That's another 2. So
this time it's not exactly nails on a chalkboard. It's still high pitched and very uncomfortable and doesn't sound anything like music. But it's not as loud this time. And the child starts to look quite upset.
Oh, you'll be doing fine, lad. Everybody's terrible the first time, but you'll be getting better. I could tell you we're getting better towards the end. Here, let me show you the best way to do it. And he pats the chair next to him, and in the meantime pulls his spare hat from his backpack and plonks it on the kid's head. Takes the flute in his own hand and attempts to give his own little performance. Come on, Bina. For God's sake. 1.
Okay, change that.
You can re-roll it. You are halfling.
Oh, yeah. No, because it was a 3.
Oh.
It is a 1.
Oh, I see.
You're
Yeah.
making the children cry. Stop
Don't-
making the
don't we
children
have-
cry.
Don't we have advantage or something from the Steam Lab? From our dear viewers? Something about 2 of our dice rolls having advantage or so?
So I was instructed that the last dice roll has to be for you, Tahina.
Okay.
Oh, I would give it to Finny.
No,
make a
it's fine.
child
If it's
smile.
specifically for you, it's absolutely fine.
Okay.
So Finny is teaching my children how to make flute dubstep right now.
Yeah.
Everyone is suffering, and every time I try to put some food into my goddamn pie hole, the screeching of flute starts again, and I drop everything.
Finny, meanwhile, after realising just what he's done, kind of pulls it away and gives it. I think that moonshine had a bit more of an impact on my old throat than I thought it did. I do apologise.
It's so quiet.
Is the child looking cheered up, or is he still crying?
He looks like he's really determined to give this a go, and he's kind of like making grabby hands for the flute as he wants to try again.
Finny gives it to him. Be very careful with it, laddie. There's only one of those in here, as far as I know.
And
Whatever
on
here it
his
is.
second attempt, he blows really gently. It is a soft whistling of the wind, and for the first time, a gentle, soft, clear note comes out.
I clap and cheer.
Ah, you're getting it. The wee one's got a talent, mister.
You're going to be a bard when you grow up. I can tell.
If he grows up, no, I'm kidding.
Voldemort just immediately stares at Gideon like,
No, he
I'm,
doesn't say that.
I'm
just
throwing a piece of bread right in the center of Gideon's forehead. Shush you!
joking. No, that doesn't happen. I'm totally kidding. No, Gideon will clap. You know.
Don't say things in your character voice unless you want them taken seriously. Excellent. So you guys are gonna settle down and eat and talk. If you want to discuss anything, now's the time before I make you all sleep.
Finny's going to look towards Gwydion and just, as the child's playing next to him, kind of making the clearing of his ear motion. He's just going to sort of gesture him a bit closer. Back when we met you in the forest, the proper forest, before we kind of ended up here, wherever this is. You made mention of some sort of cards. I don't suppose they were the same sorts of cards as you found with the whatever her name, the fortune charlatan.
No, not the
Madam
same
Eva.
type.
That one.
Yes.
I mean, you did seem to. You kind of gave the impression that you knew a wee bit more than I did about anything.
Are you talking to Gideon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, you see, when you get to my age, people don't tend to trust you. They treat you like a child. And so sometimes
Tell us all about it.
I got into a bad habit of tricking people into hiring me to take me on their adventures so I wouldn't be bored and maybe I could do what I do, you know?
Sorry, you broke up quite a bit there, mate.
Okay, good. It wasn't me.
No.
I thought it might have been me because I changed windows.
He basically just says, out of nostalgia for what he used to do, he got into the habit of tricking travelers into hiring him to come along on their adventures so he wouldn't be so bored and lonely, basically.
Yeah, you live in a wizard's old home, which basically is where old wizards go to if they don't achieve lichdom or disappear into the realms. Then old wizards gather together, kind of making conclaves, but it's not. They're guarded. They're looked after by servants, which are really nurses to help them with their adulage.
It sounds so sad.
When you don't
So-
do
You're muted,
thing-
Jason.
Oh, sorry, I'll let him. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to look. Assume we're all at ease. We're having dinner. Had dinner. He's quite relaxed, and he just talks to Gwydion, and he's saying, "Though I can't recommend the scenery or indeed the wildlife, as you've already seen, it seems like Barovia is almost an improvement over your lot."
I wouldn't go that far per se.
But you're
In
not
any-
alone. That's something.
We can all die horribly together.
We hear many tales of outsiders. though
We're not
most
going
of-
to die.
We hear many tales of outsiders, of course, though most of us do not get to encounter them. Still, it has been a genuine pleasure to meet you all, even under the circumstances.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I do hope we can
Likewise.
solve this soon. My book is almost up, and I don't have another.
What kind of adventures have you been on in the past?
There was the dwarves. Although, I think that didn't turn out so well. Maybe I'll tell you about the halflings and the volcano. No.
Did you lead them to a lonely mountain?
What? What volcano?
Yes, we were going to destroy a cursed artifact, and you know how these things sometimes turn out. Bad luck and all, they fell in the volcano.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the last bit there.
Happened to the halflings, you say? Also, we are called Hin, not halfling.
They fell in the volcano. I warned them not to get too close to the edge, and they didn't listen. Don't treat us like children, they said, and then they slipped and...
So I rolled a 1 on perception. So basically, with that critical fail, I want to accuse Gideon of spitting out the popular Yellow Page cheap novel called Lord of the Rings that he's stealing the plot of that. I just look at him grimly and say, "You are just stealing the story from a children's book as your own."
No, not a ring, a bracelet, actually. Funny you should mention. But
Funny
no,
because you're lying. Both the ring and the bracelet go on a hand.
I'm afraid I must digress slightly here. But what is a dwarf?
Well, how can you not know what a dwarf is?
In truth, I did not know what a halfling was until I met
Hin.
you two.
It's called
Pardon me.
hin.
Pardon me. Hin.
So
Well,
what-
dwarfs are a little bit bigger than we are, but that's neither here nor there because everyone is a little bit bigger than we are. And they have this mighty beards, and they are very talented smiths, and they live underneath the mountains. They're
quite crunchy.
what?
Oops, we lost someone.
Oh, we lost,
Should be back.
Yeah, don't mind the cameras. Gerhard, you've heard of dwarves before, but usually they are like deformed people.
He chooses not to impart his preconceptions, though, for fear of offence.
Do you know what elves are, right?
He's just happily absorbing the information. It's quite clear that he seems always grateful for the company. He's just sort of lapping up the banter.
Have you got any stories that don't revolve around somebody dying? I've heard nothing about all I care to about death tonight.
Well, then I shouldn't tell you the rest of the dwarf story.
Spoiler.
With a tired sigh, Finney just holds a
The
hand out to
dwarves
get out.
die.
That drink you owed me, I kinda do with it now.
We ran into some trolls, and they spent so long eating the dwarves that the sun came up and turned them to stone, but unfortunately there was nothing I could do for the dwarves.
Wait, the dwarves turned to stone?
No, the trolls turned to stone, but not before eating the dwarves.
Ugh.
Now that sounds like a story worthy of Barovians.
Bad luck.
Indeed.
Sorry, the
Well,
voice
we
is
are-
getting all in my throat. That's all.
While we are on the
Sorry.
subject, perhaps you would care to hear more about Strahd.
Yes, tell us about the so-called devil.
And
We're
as,
supposed to
as
see.
with the mention of Strahd, like everyone in the room just kind of like crosses their chest.
Indeed.
I just raise my hand and suggest, do not call him by his name. It is in bad taste.
You are
Well, I
correct,
guess
of
I'm-
course.
Hands good again.
Oh no!
That's okay. Sorry, you can do the story that we interrupted. He says, "You are right, of course. But the story, I'm no storyteller, but the tale goes that before Strahd, Barovia was a valley of beauty and serenity. Strahd was a conqueror, a warrior, and a prince. His powers were like that of a demon, pure, unbridled destruction, and the enemies of his family fell before him like wheat to the scythe. He conquered Barovia and turned it into what it is today, a land of darkness. That is all we really know. The details of what happened, they lie with only the dead, but Strahd, like death itself, is eternal. He plagues us. He is our curse. He is a punishment for some great wrong committed by our ancestors in times long past. But all we know, he rules over those unfortunate enough to call themselves his subjects. And indeed, what choice do we have other than to toil, live, exist under the rule of the Devil Strahd?
And she wants us to kill this thing.
No, we are supposed to break his curse. Maybe he's
No.
all nice afterwards.
Now you see the true gravity of the task before us. This...
I think she might be confusing me with somebody else. I mean, I'm just a wee lad from the Waterdeep. I've not left the city for any great length of time in a long, long while. I'm not much of anybody.
And I'm just
Certainly not the kind to overthrow devils and vampires and God knows what else.
And I'm just a simple soldier, a guardsman. It seems that fate has more in store for us than any of us truly thought.
At that comment, Finney looks a little bit pensive as though he's undergoing some private reflection.
If you would have me all, I would be happy to guide you through this adventure. A third time is a charm after all, so they say. I mean,
Well,
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
I don't think our odds could possibly get any worse, so why the hell not?
But you can give it a try.
try is what I do.
And maybe we are all going to be like Cody Lightfoot, the Dragon Slayer. Do you know the story of Cody Lightfoot?
Do I? I am going to roll a history check.
Do I? Good question. Dice roll.
19 plus 5 history.
I'm just gonna say yes, but Tahina, can you still tell it?
Why not that story? Please do.
Yeah, the story of Cody Lightfoot is a famous halfling, and he tricked a dragon into thinking that he was sick and was shrunk. And while the dragon was shrinking and being treated against his sickness, he stole all his treasure. And then he made the mountain fall on him, so that was why he's called the Dragon Slayer. And he was just a wee little halfling, just hidden, just like we are, right? So if he could do that, and he was all alone, he had only 2 friends with him, and I have 4 friends with me, and we are destined to do this, so let's just do it.
And what do you make of this? He asks Voldemar.
I can only say this much. He looks up at everyone else in the room. There is a ruin. There is a house where we have been today, and that house has a library. And the library says that Strahd is nothing more than a human who has been alive for too long through means that shall not be used by humans. And that we are not better than anyone who has ever challenged him before, but we are not worse either. So, there is no other choice but to try, unless we want to waste away in this land like everyone else has before us.
Truer words were seldom spoken. Gerhard agrees.
Well, I suppose when you put it like that, there's not really much option, is there?
Well, it seems we must collect these objects Eva spoke of. The Tome of Strahd, the woman that hangs above the roaring fire. Where do we even begin?
Well, you mentioned the library. Is there perhaps clues to be found there?
I suggest we go there tomorrow during the daylight. Well, what we call daylight.
If it is possible, I would also like to return to Vallaki and report in to my captain. There are questions that need to be asked.
You don't think the big bad shifty misty thing might still be lurking out that way?
There are things worse than that out and about.
Stop now, I've heard enough.
We evaded it once. We will do so again.
That's the spirit! And what do you suppose a woman hanging over a fire means? That sounds like, I don't know, witch burning or something. Is
Sounds
there
like
something...
a tablet to me.
At the sound of the words witch burning, Voldemar visibly shivers but says nothing and plays it off.
Or it is a woman who is merely very cold.
Could it be a weird tavern name?
Do explain.
I mean, taverns have weird names, like Leaky Dingy. Or what was the one you were talking about earlier, Finny?
Sorry, just quickly. Is Gerhard aware of taverns like of that name in Barovia or Vallaki?
No, there are no taverns by that name.
Yeah, there are no taverns bearing such a name that I know of.
Do you think there's a tavern in Barovia that's called the Sucky Vampire?
I hope the tavern doesn't suck as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
If not, I know what Voldemar is gonna do with his retirement money.
Excellent. And as you guys joke and make your plans and the night draws on, you settle down for rest. But the winds pick up and the wolves howl ferociously. And with that, our session comes to a close.
Hey.
I don't want to stop.
I was hoping there would be another
I ran
hour.
out of prep.
That was a really good
Very
session.
good for them all.
Hey.
Excellent.
Applause.
I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. We have
Absolutely.
almost come
Yeah.
to our 4 hours, but I am literally running out of shit that you can do.
Mini games, just 10 hours of fishing mini games.
Fishing, dice poker, drinking games. Sure, we can do that. Yeah, so we will be back in 2 weeks. Shall we say the same start time?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm happy with that, yeah.
I'm gonna keep workshopping that voice because that really ripped my throat up.
I'll have some honey lemon, but trust me, that
Yeah.
cackle was like searing through me, so I totally know how you feel. But you guys
Yeah.
were wonderful. It has been an absolute dream. So we will be back in 2 weeks' time, at the same time at 2 p.m. GMT. So with that, we're going
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been great to have you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Yes,
watching, and
indeed.
tune in next time.
And
Thank
tune
you
in
for
next
watching
time.
it again.
And all of you that have redeemed things, but they haven't come to use, don't worry, I have noted them down, and they will be used next time.
Hey, let's stockpile some advantages.
We
Yeah,
want to try and survive.
Thanks for that.
Anyway, so
Excellent.
good night,
Awesome.
guys, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
So
Good
long,
night,
folks.
everyone.
See ya.
See you around.